This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah, only on ESPN. ESPN Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome the big show on the radio, baby. The Rob Brown Show goes now. Hello, upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. It's good to be with you once again. I am Rob Brown, and back in the network studio today, he has successfully escaped the compound. His car is teetering like a seesaw on top of a hill covered in snow and ice, but he's here. Walked 16 miles uphill to get here, ladies and gentlemen. Did the great one, Lonzo, back in the building. What up, big dog?
A part of me is missing. I can't look out the window and see that part of me because it's not here, and it hurts my heart. It does. I just brought I took the energy out of the room, just right brought everything down. I am sorry. I will reach a point where I'll probably just be angry for a good portion of the show. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the emotional Hoover that is Lonzo, just like a balloon.
I'm very glad to be back in studio. I am. There's nothing like being stuck. The feeling of being stuck. Although I am kind of stuck now too, but you know, this is just as much my home as my regular home. So we're good.
Fair enough. Big show today. A lot of stuff to get into. We're going to do a little bit of Carolina football talk later on in the show as we have gotten some more of the names out there that have interviewed for the job. We have also found out one big name that I absolutely think would have been a rock star hire for the Carolina Panthers, a hometown kid from Charlotte, North Carolina, who has turned the team down even to interview. And when you hear the team that he has turned Carolina down to stick with, you will be even a little bit less, I don't know. No, scratch that. You'll be a little bit more disappointed. Words are hard. Sometimes they mean the opposite of the thing you're trying to say. You know what I mean? You're going to be even more disappointed when you find out the team that he is elected to stick with instead of interviewing for the Carolina Panthers. So we got that coming up here in just a little while. Later on in the show, it is not Fight Club Thursday yet, ladies and gentlemen. However, there are two boxing matches. One that is not going to happen and one that is, both of which I am intrigued by, and I'm going to tell you about that coming up later in the show. I think Lonzo already has a clue as he snickers behind the mic.
You're going to talk about one of your favorite people.
One of my favorite people. We're going to talk about that coming up in just a little while. And I want to talk a little bit about sports memorabilia. A little bit about sports memorabilia because there is a company that is offering up something that is very unique and interesting that's going to set you back a little bit to get. And I wonder how many people are interested in this and where your lines are drawn. How do you determine the sports memorabilia you're willing to drop some coin on? We're going to get into all of that and more as the show progresses. But we can't talk about any of that until we talk about this.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown, the three things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. When you gather around the mess hall today, this will be the scuttlebutt. These will be the things that folks are talking about. We start with item number one on the lunch breakdown. We know that sports organizations, especially those that have mucho dinero, have power as well. In fact, historically speaking, they have the power to make ugly situations go away sometimes. Well, this might be a change in the winds, so to speak. The University of Michigan has agreed to a $490 million settlement with more than 1,000 victims who say they were sexually assaulted by a former sports doctor during his nearly 4-decade career at the school, according to the university and those involved in the settlement. As of yesterday, the university said that 1,050 people were sharing the settlement, which was reached through mediation. Individuals and their attorneys will determine how the $459 point some odd million will be split up, and the university will have no input in that decision. An additional $30 million will be set aside for future claims. The payouts to individuals won't all be equal and will be determined by a third-party allocator based on several variables. Jordan Aker is the chair of the University of Michigan Board of Regents and said, quote, "We hope this settlement will begin the healing process for survivors. At the same time, the work that began 2 years ago when the first brave survivors came forward will continue," end quote. An attorney, Parker Stinner, who was part of the settlement reaching parties, said, quote, "It has been a long and challenging journey, and I believe this settlement will provide justice and healing for the many brave women who refused to be silenced," end quote. Stinner represents about 200 of the victims. The Dr. Robert Anderson was the doctor, I guess. He worked at the university from 1966 until 2003 when he retired. He was the director of the university's health service and a physician for multiple athletic teams, including the football team. A number of football players and other athletes have come forward to accuse Anderson, who passed away in 2008, of sexually abusing them. A report by a firm hired by the school determined that staff missed many opportunities to stop Anderson over his 37-year career. University President Mary Sue Coleman said, quote, "This agreement is a critical step among many the university has taken to improve support for survivors and more effectively prevent and address misconduct," end quote. So the University of Michigan forking over almost $500 million to sexual assault victims of Dr. Robert Anderson, and this is good. This is good. This is a step in the correct direction. It sucks that is going to end up ultimately creating a situation where $500 million is coming out of that university, but hopefully it will also begin to create the knowledge that the atmosphere now exists, that those that traditionally have had the power and, more importantly, the financial resources to make situations like this go away don't have that anymore. That's not something that is going to be allowed to slip anymore. I'm sure that there were folks in Michigan in the 70s, 80s, 90s that knew that this guy was doing what he was doing, but effectively we're going, well, we can't let this get out. It'll be to the detriment of the university, so we need to do whatever we can do to keep it clean without ever taking the steps that would have been required to remove that man from office and potentially force him to face jail time for his crimes. That being said, it's a step in the right direction. It is hopefully a step in the direction of those in power, and particularly powerful sports organizations, blue chip organizations at all levels, that this type of behavior cannot be allowed to exist anymore. Sports cannot go above the physical and emotional well-being of the human beings that participate in those contests. This is a great step in that direction, and I hope to see more of it moving down the line. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. We know that Texas and Oklahoma are both leaving the Big 12 at the end of their 2025 contract to join the Southeastern Conference. Well, according to Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports, the Big 12 has already planned to split into 2 7-team divisions beginning in 23. It would be a temporary restructure of a 14-team league before Texas and Oklahoma decide to bail. According to Dodd, quote, "Big 12 athletic directors, including those from conference newcomers BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, all met last month in Las Vegas to begin deciding how the league will look for 3 seasons, 2023, 24, and 25, ahead of Texas's departure to the Southeastern Conference. Texas and Oklahoma could decide to pay the early exit fee and head to the SEC before that happens, but that fee is expected to be in the 9-figure range and therefore likely to be unpaid. In summary, the Big 12 could see an expansion to 14 teams ahead of not this season, but next. And then it would shrink back down to 12 teams and create a pair of 6-team divisions beginning in 2026 when the Longhorns and Sooners are no moss. Any league with more than 12 teams is required to split into divisions for football, according to NCAA rules. Dennis Dodd projects right now that the Big 12 North would include Cincinnati, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, while the Big 12 South would contain Baylor, Houston, TCU, Texas, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia. This is not necessarily anything that's going to have a huge impact on a lot of fans around here, but it does kind of look to be a ripple into the pond that is conference expansion, which continues to happen and will continue to happen. This is not done. As long as schools realize that by moving to the power conferences, there's more money on the table, they're going to continue to do so. And as long as the conferences recognize that there is more money in having these teams involved than not, it's going to continue to happen. The only question is, when do we get to the point that we have created too many super conferences to sustain college football's competitiveness over more than a handful of schools? The Big 12 effectively becoming a super conference, even if it is for only 3 seasons before Texas and Oklahoma move on to the Southeastern Conference, allows that question to be asked.
So with that expansion, will they ever compete for a national championship? Because they haven't really competed. I mean, they may send a team there, but they haven't really been competitive. Does this make them more competitive? Or does this just make them more money?
It's a good question. It's a good question. And it's a good question, Lonzo, because you have to ask the question, does having more high-level names in one conference, right? Texas and Oklahoma moving to the Southeastern Conference. Kids that Texas and Oklahoma may have recruited out of, let's say, Louisiana, that would have looked at the SEC, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, etc. Now that Texas and Oklahoma are in the same spot, in the same conference as Alabama, as Auburn, as LSU, as Mississippi, Mississippi State, etc., does that open Texas and Oklahoma up to get more of those kids, right? Is there some level of prestige that comes along with having the SEC badge on your uniform that makes kids more likely to go to those schools than to go to, let's say, a Big 12 that does not have Texas and Oklahoma, right? If you're recruiting to Houston, well, if you're Houston and you got a 3-star kid who's got some good offers, but maybe plays a stacked position that Houston and Oklahoma are offering for right now, does saying, come to Houston, you're in the Big 12, and you're going to get to play Texas and Oklahoma, and you can prove to them that they made a mistake by not signing you. Without Texas and Oklahoma, does that make the Big 12 less attractive to the point that it digs them an even deeper hole behind the Southeastern Conference? And I would argue the answer is yes. I would argue the answer yes. This is why Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12 is such a big deal, because the prestige of that conference drops significantly. And I don't say this with any disrespect to the schools that remain inside of the Big 12, right? This is not an insult to Baylor, although Baylor deserves to be insulted. This is not an insult to Iowa State. This is not an insult to Texas Tech. But without Texas and Oklahoma in that conference, right? The conference without those two, Cincinnati, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Houston, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia. What's the prestige level of that conference without Texas and Oklahoma? It drops significantly, right?
Well, even with Texas and Oklahoma in there, although Oklahoma has been there a while, when's the last time Texas was good? So you get rid of those guys, yeah. It might as well be Conference USA or the MAC or something like that.
Yeah, that's the perception. And if that's the perception of the conference, and you got a kid who's looking, if I can't go to one of the best schools in the conference, I want to go to one of the best conferences with the best schools in it so I can show my competition level, my talent level against top-tier teams week in and week out. Big 12 doesn't have what the SEC has. They don't have it right now. They certainly aren't going to have it when Texas and Oklahoma are no longer in the fold. Yeah, the creation of super conferences, I think, drives recruits to those conferences, and the parity between they and the super conferences or the ordinary conferences, the Big 12, I would say the Pac-12 to some degree, and certainly the Group of Five conferences, the lower tier conferences. I think the parity between they and the super conferences continues to grow or to shrink, excuse me. And as they continue to shrink, recruiting gets tougher, right? I mean, we are already on a path where the SEC has won, 3 consecutive national championships? 5 of the last, 7? I mean, they are already on a podium, and they just grew that podium taller, and nobody else is able to catch up because there's not the resources to catch up with them. And I'm going to talk about that later in the show. What, if anything, can be done to have other conferences try to at least keep up, if not straight up catch up with the Southeastern Conference? But before I get there, let's get to item number 3 on the lunch breakdown. Carolina Panthers obviously still in the market for a new offensive coordinator after the firing of Joe Brady earlier in this year. Well, it has been reported by Anthony Rizzuti and Yahoo Sports that one of the names that Matt Rule reached out to in recent weeks was Chip Kelly, ladies and gentlemen. Needs a rock star hire, and the name he went after that he targeted with the majority of his resources was Chip Kelly. Of course, Chip Kelly on his way back to the collegiate levels. So the names that we know that have been in the mix right now and have interviewed thus far for the offensive coordinator position, in which Matt Rule needs a, quote, rock star hire to convince David Tepper to let him stick around for 2022. Jay Gruden, Ben McAdoo, Clint Kubiak, Mike Groh, and Scotty Montgomery. Any of those names jump out at anybody?
Well, Jay Gruden.
Head coach who did nothing with Washington. Nothing with Washington.
You ask if a name stood out. At least I know that name.
Sure, let me rephrase that. Any of those names step out to you as a rock star hire?
No.
Okay. Now, there was a name that was in the mix that I think I would have gone, that's not bad. It's not bad. Young guy. He's got some numbers behind him, coming from a tough situation where he showed some perseverance. I like it. And that name was Pep Hamilton. Now, Pep Hamilton is currently the passing game coordinator for the Houston Texans. Coach last year under David Culley, who just got fired. So Pep, might be a chance Pep's interested in moving. The Carolina Panthers called Pep Hamilton, asked him for an interview, and Pep Hamilton said no.
No, man, I'm good.
In Houston, he said, I might. You know what makes that even more interesting, Lonzo? Do you know where Pep Hamilton is from? Do you know where he calls his hometown?
Let me guess. Charlotte.
North Carolina. That is correct. He is a Charlotte, North Carolina guy. Young, hip, did a decent job with a tragic situation playing out in H-Town, Tejas. Matt Rule called him, said, I'd like to interview you to move you up from passing game coordinator and QB coach to offensive coordinator. And Pep Hamilton, according to Aaron Wilson and others, has said no. No, thank you. Hamilton is widely regarded around the league for both his work rate and his reputation. Players seem to love him. Now, he is 47, so he's not exactly a spring chicken, but he's relatively new in moving up the ranks, and he's a guy that, for the most part, players seem to latch on to. Would have been a big name hire. But Pep Hamilton, Pep, according to Aaron Wilson and others, has other options on the table, up to and including the potential to move into the offensive coordinator or potentially the head coaching role for the Houston Texans. He would rather be in charge of the carnival that is the Houston Texans than come home and coach in his hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina for Matt Rule's Panthers. There is a bigger reason for that. I'm going to tell you what it is and why it is going to have an impact on progress for the Panthers over the next couple of years when we come back. My name is Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, back in the chair on the button, switches, knobs, levers, wheels, gears, and pulleys today. We're back after this. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
There is no doubt the Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rule is on the hot seat going into next year, and that is hurting his ability to recruit assistant coaches. They need a new offensive coordinator. They wanted to speak with Pep Hamilton, the Houston Texans passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach, but according to Sports Talk 790 in Houston, Hamilton has made the decision to decline the interview opportunity with the Panthers. So far, former Giants head coach Ben McAdoo, Colts wide receivers coach Mike Groh, Colts running backs coach Scotty Montgomery, former Washington Jay Gruden.
Adam, I think with all due respect, and I could be incorrect here, but I think your date's wrong. I've got Carolina Club Hockey playing at the University of or playing against the University of Georgia this weekend. If I recall correctly, Clemson and South Carolina will be playing March 5th. Yeah, March 5th, I believe. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think they've got Georgia according to their schedule. The club hockey, this what's today? The 19th, so the 21st. Yeah, Friday the 21st against Appalachian State. Let me see if I can get that right. I'll confirm those dates for us, Adam.
This view was worth the hype.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say, in fact, I when I got told about the Clemson South Carolina game, I got told it was the weekend after my birthday, which is the last weekend in February.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92.
Yeah, their website says January 21st is South Carolina versus Appalachian State. But I could be looking at, I very well could be looking at the wrong thing. So.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
This feature sponsored by Pfizer. Come rain or shine, high winds or mild breezes, blue skies or gray.
That's a good point, Stephen. But would he be an Autobot or a Decepticon? Definitely would not be a GoBot.
Dinobots were the best.
GoBots are lame.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. The number one problem the Carolina Panthers are going to have is that everybody knows that Matt Rule's on the hot seat. Everybody knows Matt Rule's on the hot seat. Everybody knows that if you go there and you become the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, and Matt Rule does not have a better year next year, he's fired. And guess what, Jack? So are you. So are you.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you go there and you turn things around just enough and they still lose, but the offense isn't the reason why, then you're setting yourself up to be the next coach, possibly.
So I would say there's a small chance of that. Like, that's a small possibility. But it ordinarily does not work out that way. You very rarely hear about the coach or the offensive coordinator of a failed head coach being elevated into that position once the failed coach is let go. You're taking a massive gamble there, right? So if you're Pep Hamilton and you are the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach in H-Town, which has an open seat right now, you have not been let go from your position, by the way. You are still employed in that role.
And there's a chance maybe he's vying to get the head coaching job there
In Houston, which I think is probably the case, right? But even if it's not, there's an old phrase, Lonzo, that the devil that you know is better than the one that you don't, right? You ever heard that phrase before? The devil you know is better than the one you don't.
Still the devil, but yes.
The phrase goes that the devil, because the devil, you know his tricks, you may still fall for him, but you know his tricks, you know his schemes. The devil you don't know, you don't. Everything that is going on in Houston is a dumpster fire right now. I think, even if it's not quite the carnival behind the scenes, it's not exactly great in Charlotte either. But at least in Houston, he's had his eyes set on this machine for a year now. He knows this machine. He knows Easterby. He knows Caserio. He may not know who that coach is, but he knows the right buttons to potentially push to at least try to get that job or get bumped up to the offensive coordinator's position there. He knows the players. He knows the personnel, right? And he knows that even if he's not elevated to the head coach, if he's elevated to offensive coordinator, even though David Culley was fired after 1 year, the next coach is likely not going to be. Because I think the majority of us thought David Culley, I told you this when they hired the guy. I remember sitting on my couch last year when they hired David Culley talking about it. And I said, unfortunately, if I was David Culley, I wouldn't have taken this job because unfortunately, he's a sacrificial lamb. He's a guy that was brought in because the Texans know this year is going to be an absolute garbage heap. They know that Deshaun Watson not playing for them is going to cost them 4 to 5 wins. They know they're a 3 or 4 win team at best. And Easterby and Caserio need somebody to blame it on. And that's going to be the head coach watch. And that's exactly what happened.
See, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. But at the same time, you're taking that job. I'm taking that job. Because if you turn it around, cool. If you don't, you're home after a year and you're getting paid a bunch of money. So, I mean, it really...
Especially David Culley's like 60-ish years old. It's not exactly like head coaching opportunities were falling in line for that dude either way.
Yeah, that's retirement fund.
Yeah.
You go do your best for a year, and then you take that money and you retire.
Oh, and his salary, he said on the radio the other day on 670 The Game in Houston, he said, hey, they guaranteed my contract. He's got 4 years worth of salary. Well, 3 more years of salary coming without having to work for it. Hell yeah, I'd take that gig. But I knew that was what was going to happen the day they announced that contract. I said it on the radio. Go back and pull it from our website, ESPNUpstate.com. It's in there. So anyway, I think that Pep Hamilton is looking at what's happening in Charlotte, goes, okay, if I go there and Carolina has another year like this year, Matt Rule gets fired, guess what? So am I. I'm out. And now I got nothing. Whereas if I stay here in H-Town, where they don't have a head coach, but they have not fired me yet, if I can stay on board with the new coaching staff, or if I can be the guy who gets to wear the headset next year, there's more job stability there.
But he's taking a risk because they don't know if he doesn't get the head coaching job, the guy who comes in may want his own guys in there, and then he's out of a job. Whereas if he at least took this interview, he could have that on the back burner if things work out time-wise.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing it's not a gamble, but he's saying I'm going to leave my chip stacked on Houston instead of Carolina for now, which is interesting. This is a Charlotte guy who said no. And keep in mind, by the way, and I think you mentioned this in the last segment, Lonzo, not only are all these moving parts out there, but which one of these two teams fired an offensive coordinator less than a year into the tenure? You know what I mean? Who's to say Pep Hamilton doesn't show up in Charlotte? They go on a 7-game losing streak in the middle of next year. Matt Rule knows the job's on the hot seat. Matt Rule doesn't go, It's Pep's fault. He's out. He's fired. Now you got a gap on the resume, which is not the end of the world in the NFL, but it's not a good
Yeah,
look.
yeah, especially not in the NFL where retread is the word.
Exactly. But you'd rather not get canned from the job than do it, right? Do you know that Matt Rule will fire an offensive coordinator? Yes, he literally just did it.
If you are that offensive coordinator, you got the chance to be with one team or another. Which offense is better? Houston's offense or the Panthers' offense?
I mean, with McCaffrey, Carolina's, but the dude's played 10 games in 2.5 seasons.
Well, both places, you don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Correct. I mean, so, and to add on top of this, and I was going to get to this later on in the show, but I guess it becomes somewhat relevant here. Relevant. Words are hard.
It's relevant, yo.
I'm struggling today. Somewhat relevant here. Nick Caserio also said in a press conference yesterday that Deshaun Watson returning to the Texans is, quote, highly unlikely, end quote. So we know who the quarterback's not going to be in Houston. Will Carolina make another play for Deshaun to get him there? Because if Deshaun goes to Carolina and you get McCaffrey back next year, question mark, can he stay healthy? But you got Deshaun and 22 lined up next year. All of a sudden, now I'm more intrigued by going to interview there, right? But you can't bank on maybe Deshaun ends up in Carolina because Miami's still in play, maybe. Although Brian Flores was a big reason that Deshaun wanted to go to Miami. So question mark about that. And who knows what other teams. I mean, there's going to be teams that are willing to make a big play for Deshaun Watson. Carolina's going to be one of them. But will he land here? I don't know.
Deshaun is still such a big if, though, because we don't an entire year gone. The lawsuit's still going on as far as we know. So, I mean, why make a play for him, period, when you don't know if he's going to get the play after he's been off an entire year? And that's the other thing. He's been off an entire year.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the wear and tear from an NFL season, but at the same time, he just lost a season.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I'm intrigued. But the fact that Pep Hamilton said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, not a great look. And this is the question that I would ask. This is the question that I would ask of Carolina fans, of which I have seen, for instance, on the Reddit subreddit earlier I was perusing. A lot of them are a little taken aback, a little offended by that, right? Why wouldn't you want to? Most guys would kill to be the head coach. I would take Lonzo. I would take a job being the play-by-play guy for any NFL team. I'd take the play-by-play job for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Whoa.
I know. They won't give it to me because any one show that I've done here would tell them all they needed to know. But if the Jacksonville Jaguars offer me the job, I'd take that job as the play-by-play guy. But if I spent 29 years as the play-by-play guy for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Lonzo, and then the New Orleans Saints called me and offered me the play-by-play job, Jack, I'm on the first U-Haul out of town. I'm gone, right? Most of us would kill to do our dream job and do it in the NFL market we came from. Of course we would. And this guy just said no to that. And I think it says more about the Panthers than anything else, right? Matt Rule appears to be a dead coach walking right now, right? He's a dead coach walking right now because I think anything less than a wild card spot next year, done. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that Tepper gave Matt Rule the worst contract in Carolina Panthers history, Matt Rule would already be gone. I believe that. I just don't think financially they have the resources to make that move. They will at the end of next season. So Matt Rule appears to be a dead man walking in that position. Pep Hamilton appears to be in line for the OC job in Houston, although as Lonzo's pointed out, Nick Caserio confirmed, no Deshaun Watson. It's going to be a rebuild. But what's more attractive? The OC job under a brand new head coach in Houston, potentially the head coaching job, or the OC job under a guy that has just proven that he will fire you mid-season and blame the team's troubles on you, and that is likely to get fired at the end of the year. So even if you survive the rule and make it to the end of the year, if anything less than a wild card happens for the Panthers next year, Matt Rule's out, you probably gone too.
I'd say that there's no stability in either job. So which one's offering you the most money? That's why you at least go listen.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I'd probably take the interview unless you are already talking to because they're not going to make the announcement that Nick Caserio and Jack Easterby are talking to Pep Hamilton about moving him to the job. I mean, maybe Glazer or Shefty breaks that story at some point, but it's not going to get the press like it would right now when coaches have to request interviews for other teams, and that's public info. So if he's already in talks to become the OC with Easterby, with Caserio in H-Town, you have to decline that, right? You have to decline that because if it gets out you're interviewing elsewhere as well, they might take away that opportunity and you are not guaranteed the Carolina job. Because what happens if you interview that cat and then 2 days later, Sean McAvee's offensive coordinator goes, you know what? I'm interested in that gig. He won't, but if he did, right? So we'll see. Point is, there's a hole in Charlotte right now that Matt Rule has created by cratering this year. And guys are scrambling away from it, not into it. Even guys from Charlotte, from that town. It's not a great look. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the helm. We're back after this. Rob, Lonzo, you, The Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
I'm Christine Lisi. Here's what's happening. Still plenty of question marks for the Buccaneers surrounding a handful of key offensive players as they continue to prepare to host the Rams in Sunday's NFC Divisional Playoff game. Coach Bruce Arians.
So I am being informed that the car is in the process of being winched out of the ravine.
The ravine.
Well, there's a potential ravine.
Yeah.
This week, Sachi has been the interim coach for Vegas since mid-October. Broncos today are interviewing Patriots linebacker Gerard Mayo for their head coaching vacancy. NBA Jazz star guard Donovan Mitchell in concussion protocol, out for at least tonight's game against the Rockets.
From the Ingles Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
Sometimes it's the little victories that mean the most. At Ingles, we know there's no one we'd rather share any extra memorable moments with than family.
So that news that Owen got me with yesterday, I hadn't been on social media because as soon as I got home, I was jumping on there, working on the problem, getting on there with you. Yeah, that is huge news because Blizzard has had a lot of problems with harassment cases and things like that, and they've been wondering what was going to happen with the company, especially with Diablo 4 being developed right now, and worried that wouldn't come out. But now, so that means good shot. You get Diablo 3, Diablo 4 on Game Pass. That's well, Diablo 4, that saves me $60. I like that. Also, StarCraft and some games like that on computer, which I played some Game Pass on computer, but I'm tempted because Mass Effect is now on computer, the Legendary Edition, of going out and buying a joystick or a game controller for my computer. I don't even know how much those cost.
I started playing No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Because you know me as a space nerd.
It's addictive. It can be, depending once you get into it.
I don't like games where crafting things is the primary.
Yeah.
Because 94% of that game is run around, find this, come back, craft. Take that thing, run around to find this other thing to bring it back and craft bigger.
I don't like it as much as like Chris. Chris, that's one of his go-to games. He goes back and plays it all the time, explores.
Game, it's a great one.
Just exploring and things like that. I want more battle. QC Connects the next break. I did get it on VR though. There's a difference to playing that game regular and playing it in VR. In VR, it's beautiful because now when you're walking the planet and exploring, you're walking the planet, and it's a little more difficult to control, but it's pretty cool in VR. I also noticed while doing the show from home yesterday how much noise on the stream that this makes, moving this around, which is, I don't really do a whole lot anyway, but Owen was moving a lot. Man, it was loud.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. Finishing up the Carolina talk. I went back and after we got the names of the offensive coordinators that have either interviewed so far or have been requested for an interview. We know that Gruden, McAdoo, Kubiak, Groh, and Montgomery are the ones that have interviewed. We know the Panthers have called Chip Kelly. He said no. He's headed back to college. They called Pep Hamilton from Houston. He said no. He's sticking in H-Town. There are other names the Panthers have expressed interest in, but it hasn't gone anywhere yet. Either they haven't called or we don't know the results of the call yet. But the more I look at this, Lonzo, the more I'm getting to the point where I think there's no rock star hire here. Those who would be rock star offensive coordinators aren't going to be interested in this job because Matt Rule, as we pointed out, is a dead man walking in that job. It is a dead-end job. You are getting 1 year. And again, while other teams will hire retreads, your resume says 17 games as an offensive coordinator and immediately fired.
You said Jay Gruden had been interviewed?
Either has interviewed, let's see, according to
the reason why I'm asking is I'm surprised if he has, because I would think, whether it's fair or not, that the John Gruden emails would affect whether Jay Gruden could get another job in the NFL.
Jay Gruden has been interviewed by the Panthers so far.
That kind of surprises me, because isn't there a stigma that goes with Jay Gruden?
Well,
the fact that when those emails were sent, Jay Gruden was with Washington.
Yeah. The answer to that is I would think yes. And I will also tell you that you don't have to like this. It's not a political take here. But Jay Gruden has expressed some sentiments publicly in the past, not as bad as what John Gruden had in the emails, but that are against the at least outwardly expressed progressive discussion the NFL is trying to be involved in, right? And it makes Jay Gruden a bit of a will we have a John Gruden situation on our hands down the line style candidate. Nobody else is talking to Jay Gruden, and I guess that's the point. Nobody else is talking to Jay Gruden as of right now. The Panthers are. That is because the Panthers are going to have to find somebody desperate to have an opportunity to take this job.
That's why I was making that point. Yeah. Is the fact that he's already been interviewed, if he has, does that point out the level of desperation that the Panthers are in?
I think it does a little bit. I think it shows you that the Carolina Panthers are going to have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for names here. There is no rock star offensive coordinator coming to North Carolina, excuse me. It's not a job that a rock star coordinator would want. There's going to be other offensive coordinators elevated in the next couple of months to head coaching positions because there's 4 teams that need a head coach right now, all of whom are going to be elevated from a successful team, most likely. Why would you not just hang out, right? So the option here is either you fire Matt Rule now, and it cost you effectively about $10 million, or you waste 1 more year, hope that you don't end up in a situation where Matt Rule pulls the strings and ends up trying to go get a Derek Carr to come in to be the next quarterback, straps you with more salary obligations, financial obligations, takes away more draft picks in a trade, whatever. Keeping in mind that if you were to prevent him from making those moves, now that job is labeled in the future as a head coaching job where the owner and GM handicap the head coach, right? If they go, Rule, we're going to give you one more year, but we're not going to let you make any more blockbuster trades here. Then it gets out that the Panthers front office won't let the head coach make the moves he wants for the guys that he wants in his system. It's a no-win situation here, man. It's a no-win situation.
So the best move would have been for Tepper to go ahead and fire Rule then.
To me, I don't understand why you haven't. $10 million. What's 10 in the grand scope of things? What's $10 million for a billionaire?
Well, maybe he really likes the guy.
I don't think he does. Right? If the reports coming out are true, Shefty and Glazer and Rizzuti and these other guys who cover the Panthers in the NFL, if the rest coming through saying Rockstar hire, already on the hot seat, he knows, Tepper's told him, etc., if those are true. And by the way, you'll notice Matt Rule has come out and contested one report. And he did not directly contest the report because Glazer said Tepper needs Matt Rule to make an offensive coordinator rock star hire to have him comfortable keeping that job. And Matt Rule comes out and he did not say that's untrue. He did not say that's a lie. That's incorrect. He said, I haven't been told that. And yes, when you get to people that have 10 and 12 and $11 million salaries on the line, they play word games. Politicians play word games. So do head coaches. Pay attention to what people say because words have meaning. Matt Rule said, I have not been told that. He did not say it's not true. He did not say it's incorrect, it's false. He said, I have not been told that. Doesn't make it not true, man. It's a no-win situation. I'm not going to sit here and say I've seen a lot of people going, this franchise is done. We're never going to win with David Tepper as the owner. We might as well sell the jerseys. We're out. I'm not ready to sit here and say that the Carolina Panthers are going to be a failed franchise under David Tepper, like the Miami Dolphins have been under Stephen Ross, like the Dallas Cowboys have been under Jerry Jones since the mid-90s. I'm not ready to say that. But man, I'm having a hard time finding the oasis of optimism. And if there's one thing you can describe this show as, ladies and gentlemen, it's an oasis of optimism. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Tell you about my friends at QC Kinetics, ladies and gentlemen. Joint pain is pain. It's pain. I've got it. You've got it. You seasoned citizens, you. It's going to happen to you. As you age, that connective tissue inside your joints is going to wear down. You're going to get inflammation and soreness. It's what causes that joint pain. And as it gets worse, it's not just the fact that it hurts. It's the fact that as it gets worse, you start anticipating the pain and it starts taking away from the enjoyment of your day-to-day life. And when you get to the point that your grandkid asks you to pick him up off the ground and you got to say no because you know your hips are going to get ruined. Or your friend says, what do you go say? We grab 18 this Sunday, and you go, I can't because I can't have my knee hurting at work the next day. Or if you're somebody that's got to crawl around on the floor for work, you're getting in and out of delivery trucks. You are climbing under other people's sinks to fix them. You want that joint pain to go away. So what you need to do is go to the website, QCkinetics.com, QCKINETIX.com, and find out the QC Kinetics non-surgical regenerative therapy. No steroids, no drugs, no needles, no anesthesia, no downtime, no physical therapy. Can help you restore that connective tissue, heal that connective tissue, and get you not just back to living life the way you want to live it, but to not being afraid of doing just that. Give them a call at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that first consultation for free with our friends at QC Kinetics.
Chance for rain showers late, cloudy, low near 40. By Thursday, a chance for rain, cloudy, high 48 degrees. Friday, chance for snow, high 33, and sunshine for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Buchitsky, ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 53.
Radio.com is now Odyssey. Download the Odyssey app and listen to ESPN Upstate and all the sports, news, music, and podcasts.
You make sure you and your people do everything possible to see that it is
All in one place. It's the Odyssey app for ESPN Upstate. Odyssey is your new home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today. All the sports you love.
Get more back to normal.
And listen to ESPN Upstate.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm, specialized in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-935-7144. 800-935-7144. 800-935-7144.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Don't overpay for braces. Give your child a smile that will last a lifetime, starting at $39.95 from MyAffordableBraces.com. Get braces starting at only $39.95 at MyAffordableBraces.com. Save even more with most insurance plans, including MetLife and Delta Dental. MyAffordableBraces.com has a clinic near you in Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson. Schedule your free consultation, exam, and x-rays today. Easy payment plans and affordable braces. A lifetime of smiles you can afford at MyAffordableBraces.com.
Golfers, the best Upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2022 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 10 premier Upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your foursome and get your Upstate Golf Cards now.
So Machine Gun Kelly is told Vogue that Megan Fox's engagement ring was designed to hurt if she takes it off. It's made of thorns. So if she takes it off, the thorns will dig into her.
I don't know. Just know.
Yeah, the bands are actually thorns.
They're weird.
So if she tries to take it off, it hurts because love is pain.
Is his?
I don't know.
His wedding ring going to be
Just,
like?
just says hers.
Because if not, that is tactical abusive behavior.
Unless you're into that sort of thing,
True.
which some people are.
Your prescription. HIMSS connects you to medical providers online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. Then a certified pharmacy sends it right to your door. HIMSS makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to HIMSS, nobody has to, and that's really good news.
I mean, how do you even approach someone saying, okay, here's your engagement, or do you just get her the engagement ring and she looks and goes, wait a minute, that
looks like it's going to hurt.
Yeah. Or did the thorns not come out till after the ring was put on? Somehow you start moving it the other way and then suddenly the thorns come out. When you're rich, you probably could afford that sort of thing.
Yeah, like, can they cut it off? Live from the Ingles Market Studio, this is the Rob Brown Show. 844-477-3776 is the phone number. You can also text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Keyword ESPN. Want to remind you that the BetQL Giving Props contest is going on right now, runs to the Super Bowl. Every week, they are posting 10 prop bets. The person who correctly predicts the most prop bets will win $2,000 on a weekly basis. And just by signing up, you're automatically entered into a random grand prize drawing for $10,000. If you want to play, Go to betql.com/props. This week's NFL divisional round props are up. There are 10 of them for you to pick. Go to betql.com, predict those 10 prop bets. If you correctly predict the most, you'll win $2,000 and you're automatically entered to win a $10,000 grand prize from our friends at BetQL. Go to betql.com/props to get yourself set up. And of course, remember that your home for the NFL playoffs is right here on ESPN. So during the games this weekend, we got 4 of them lined up for you, and all 4 will be carried live right here on ESPN Upstate. When you're flipping around to the other sports stations in the Upstate, you're going to hear guys loosely describing the games as they happen. How about instead listen to the live calls of those games? So if you're working, you're out there driving around on the interstates of the Upstate, tune it in to ESPN Upstate and make sure you don't miss a snap of the NFL's divisional round of the playoffs live and exclusively on ESPN Upstate. It's almost, Lonzo, like we're the best game in town.
It's not almost, it is.
It is, Lonzo, like we're the best game in town.
There we go.
There we go. All right, coming up in the next hour of the show. We teased this a little bit earlier this week. Didn't get a chance to get to it. We'll get to it today. Bob Bowlesby at the college football expansion playoff talks last week in Indianapolis. They had all of the conference commissioners together to talk about the potential to expand the playoffs even further. And at one point in the talks, Bob Bowlesby just stood up, grabbed his briefcase, and left. Not like, hang on, guys, quick coffee break. Hang on, y'all, hitting the head, BRB. Nope. He got up, grabbed his briefcase, and left. I'll tell you why. Maybe it's dramatic, you tell me. I don't think that's a good sign for college football expansion talk. We'll hit that next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Adam, you might be correct there. It was either the weekend before or after. It was either the weekend it was either that weekend or the weekend, first weekend in March that game was scheduled. I'll see what I can find out afterwards and post it, because I definitely want to be there for that. Little college hockey right in our own backyard. Heck yeah, I want in. You kidding me?
Coach, but according to Sports Talk 790 in Houston, Hamilton has made the decision to declare an opportunity with the Panthers. So far, former Giants head coach Ben McAdoo, Colts wide receivers coach Mike Rowe, Colts running backs coach Scotty Montgomery, former Washington head coach Jay Gruden, and Vikings offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak have all interviewed for the job. Download the Score app today, lightning fast sports alerts, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard offside?
Golf cart in the first break.
Yeah. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo at the helm today. 844-477-3776. Preferred Home Services text line is 71307. 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We can read them on the air. Let's jump into this. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. We brought it up. Did not get to spend a bunch of time on it, but Heather Dinich of ESPN put up an article. She was actually at the national championship game in Indianapolis, but not to cover the game itself. She was there to cover the College Football Playoff Committee talks about expanding the college football playoffs. Now, we know that over the past 8 months or so, we have gotten to the point where it feels like a 12-team playoff is becoming all but inevitable at this point. Well, Heather Dinich said that during the College Football Playoff National Championship game, College Football Playoff expansion meetings, that at one point, Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner of the Big 12, was sitting next to Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick, who is one of the other biggest names in the room while these discussions are ongoing. Swarbrick said that at one point during the meetings, Bob Bowlesby, Lonzo, picked up his briefcase, left the room. Just G-O-N, gone.
You ever done that before? Just got up and said, you know what? This ain't for me. I'm done with this, and just walked out in the middle of something.
One time have I done that. I worked at a bank years ago. I worked at a couple of banks, but I was working at one in particular for a big bank, for like a big national chain. And I was a floor manager, right? So like all the tellers and everything worked there. So there was a lady who was the regional manager for all the banks in our county. And she basically would travel bank to bank and work a day apiece in each bank. And she was a micromanager. Lonzo, you ever worked for somebody who's like an over micromanager?
No, never.
You ever been one? So this woman would go bank to bank and she would work in the bank for a day, but she would micromanage. And she did not like me at all. Because in one of the few management positions I ever had, my whole thing was, Lonzo, are the things that need to get done getting done, right? Are the things that need to if the things that are getting done are getting done and nobody's breaking the law to do it, go ahead. At the end of the month, if I can turn in my monthly report and it says gold stars top to bottom, everything got done and nobody went to jail, we did a good job. This woman was not a fan and she did not like me, but the guy who was the bank manager did. He's the one that gave me the job. So, worked there for about 7-8 months. And about 7-8 months in, I came in and my manager said, hey, man, we have to have some training. And I said, why? And he said, Tanya, who was the name of the overall manager, has written you up 3 times in the last month. Nobody told me this. And she had written me up for stuff that she didn't like that technically was against bank protocol. Not protocol, that's not the right word. Suggestions. For instance, there was one day on like a Monday or Tuesday where the bank was exceptionally slow. My crew had gotten everything we were supposed to get done. The bank was clean. The money was vaulted. Everything was good. And she found out that I told the 3 tellers that were on the floor that they could all have a break. They'd stay on the floor, but because everything had gotten done and well before it was expected to be done, I gave them all a 30-minute break on the floor. Nobody was in the bank. If somebody came in, click off whatever screen you're on, go back, do your job. When they leave, back to break, 30 minutes. and then we'll come up with something else to do. She heard me say that, wrote me up for that, and wrote me up for 2 or 3. Anyway, I go through this training, I come back, and the next like Tuesday or Wednesday, Travis, the manager, calls me back into his office. He's like, hey, man, we're putting you on probation. And I said, for what? Everything's done, right? We haven't missed a report. We haven't missed a deadline. Everything's going great. What am I? And he said, Tanya wrote you up because, Lonzo, I had worn Sperry boat shoes. You know the boat shoes, like brown, like Sperry boat shoes? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've had them
All
in
right.
my lifetime, yes.
Great shoes. Great shoes.
They get smelly after a while if you don't wear socks.
So I didn't wear socks. They really don't. If you take care of them, they're great shoes. It was summertime in Florida, which means it's about $101 outside. I had worn Sperry topsiders with no shoes, along with my khakis and polo shirt, which was the guideline. But in the official dress code, it says men must wear socks, and I didn't wear socks with my Sperry topsiders. She wrote me up for it, and I stood up and I went, Travis, it's been fun, buddy, and I left. Only job I've ever quit. Felt empowered as hell, right? But you know why I left that? Why I got up, grabbed my stuff, and left? I went back to my station. I got my beta fish, and we left. I went and got my beta fish.
Did you yell, who's coming with me?
Hell's coming with me. I got up, I got my beta fish, and we left. We were gone. Only time I ever left. And the reason I left that job was because I came to the realization that it was pointless to continue. That there was no benefit of me being there, right? This woman who had, at the end of the day, say over whether or not I got a raise, got a bonus, got a promotion, was able to move up, because I would have done that job. I would have worked to move up to become a branch manager. I didn't hate working in a bank. I would have worked hard to get there, and I was working hard. Again, all of our stuff was done, but I realized that as long as this woman was in that job, which she had been in for the better part of like 14 years at that point, she was clearly not interested in moving up into corporate, which would have required her to move to, I think, Nashville. It became evident that me being in that job was not going to get me anywhere. I was not going to make progress. She was going to continue to write me up for dumb stuff. She was going to keep getting me on probation so that I couldn't go anywhere. So I got up and left and I went and got a different job. That is what Bob Bowlesby did. Bob Bowlesby was sitting there. He realized what I realized last week when we talked about this, and I told you this. As it is structured, this committee is not going to get anywhere because a couple of the big conferences, they recognize that the structure as is with the top 4 and the same handful of teams going every year, that's how they make the most money, right? That's how they make the most money. Because even if you get 3 teams into a 12-team field, the money is split up into thirds at that point, right? Or into 12, excuse me, of which you're getting a quarter, as opposed to getting up to 50% of the total pie as it is. So for the SEC, predominantly, the ACC when Clemson was good and the Big Ten when Ohio State's good, 14 playoffs is the most profitable. And a 12-team playoff in which there are not Power 5 teams, or excuse me, Group of 5 teams, is even more profitable. So when they come to the table and the Group of 5 says, hey, look, here's the deal. We want automatic qualifiers because we want to ensure that Group of 5 teams can get in. We want to make sure there's a chair at the table for us. The SEC is going to say no. And probably the Big Ten, less likely, although maybe the ACC, are going to say, no, we're all right. We'll do 12, but no AQs. We just want the 12 highest teams in there to ensure that we can get as many in as we can fit to get more money out of the deal. This has been the conversation that's been had for the better part of the entirety of this playoff committee having expansion talks. And I saw a lot of people saying, Bob Bowlesby walked, he quit, he got out of there. He said no. He quit on the meeting. It's his fault. It's not his fault, kids. It's not his fault. Bob Bowlesby was sitting in that meeting, and I don't have a reason to defend Bob Bowlesby other than I know the pain, dude. I know the struggle you're in. To go into a job every day, to grind out, to do hard work every day, to get busted up every day, and to recognize that at the end of the day, you are wasting your time. What's the number one way to get me to quit a video game? Get me to a point where I realize that I can grind all day, but I'm wasting my time because the people who spend extra money on the extra downloadable content will always win that game. I'm out. I'm done. Great way to get me to quit a game are putting in microtransactions where the guy who's willing to spend $100 extra on the game is going to beat me no matter how good I am because he has the fun stuff. Same situation. When I get to the point that I'm getting written up and put on probation, which, by the way, means you cannot be promoted for the next 6 months, when I was doing a hell of a job, great way to get me to quit the job. Bob Bowlesby was sitting there going, this isn't going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere. We are not getting anywhere because all the small teams want X. The big teams do not want X. And we have to be unanimous in our decision to make anything happen. And we are not going to be. Can't happen. Because there's too much money on the table. Texas says, I thought the problem was AQs. I would think more games would equal more money. It is more money. Over the, 3 years? I think that the delay in the last two meetings, right? The last meeting pushed it back to 2025. And the failure at last Monday to reach an agreement pushed it back till 2026 at least. I'm doing that off the top of my head. I believe I recall correctly, though I could be wrong. The 3 years that we have lost in the last 8 months of these conversations of the playoff expanding is estimated to have cost the College Football Playoff Committee about $400 million. Off the top, again, I could be misremembering these numbers. I don't have it pulled in front of me. It was on last week's show prep. But about 400 mil. So and that's estimated, could be up to $500 million that would have gone into the playoff committee. A sizable chunk of that would have been split up between the 12 teams and therefore the conferences that made it in. Now that money is split up 12 ways instead of 4. But the little schools want automatic qualifiers because they want to ensure that not necessarily a team like Cincinnati this year, but maybe the team under them, a Houston, who goes 11-1 and wins their conference. And the last Power 5 conference champion goes 10-2, 9-3, but wins the conference anyway. They want to make sure Houston has a chance to get in there and eat a little bit. And the big schools are going, no. We want the best teams. We want the best teams, no AQs, to split up that much money. Bob Bowlesby is sitting there going, until something changes, this isn't going anywhere. Because they've had the same conversation for 8 months. And in that conversation, nothing has changed. All of the conversation that was had last Monday at that meeting were the same conversations that were had back in December when they met the time previous to that. And those were the same conversations that were had in July or August of last year, whatever they were, the time before that they met. And nothing has changed. This is not on Bob Bowlesby. Bowlesby's just the one that said, screw this, I'm wasting my time. There is no point to this. There's no point. And Lonzo, if you've ever been in a spot where you genuinely sat back and went, I am wasting my time, there is no point to this, it is incredibly frustrating.
Hard to believe, but I have quit a couple of jobs before. The fact that I've been here so long, I love it here. But there've been a couple that I've just got up and it's like, I'm done and just walked out. It's a hard decision to make. It really is. And sometimes it's not a matter of growth. Sometimes it's a matter of emotion. But yeah, when you walk out, then you feel kind of guilty later, and then you rationalize and realize maybe you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Because the next move a lot of times ends up being better.
To get to the point where you just stand up and walk out, you are against the wall, Jack. Now, that wall may be further up or further back from person to person. But for all of us, when we hit a point where we're like, we're up against the wall and there's no win here, I can't get through, and you just walk away, that's what Bowlesby did. After the third straight day of meetings in Indianapolis, totaled about 15 hours and amounted to no change, Bob Bowlesby asked the question very dryly to Heather Dinich, quote, "Have you seen the movie Groundhog's Day?" End quote. And I get it. I really do. 7 months, 9 in-person meetings, each meeting taking as many as 3 days to get through. And nothing has changed. Jack Swarbrick said, quote, "Everybody in the room favors expansion. We have to be able to find a way, at least by the next term, to have an expansion model we can get agreement around." And I agree. I want expansion. I think most college football fans, not all, but most college football fans want expansion.
Yeah, there are some, which we've actually heard from here, who want to go back to the BCS.
Yeah. And I'm fine with some comparison, right? 12 teams, but we use BCS rankings to determine who they are. I'm good with that. The majority of us want expansion. Some maybe less expansion, some expansion with different qualifications for making it in. But for the most part, I think most college football fans want expansion. But we have now had 9 in-person conferences over 7 months and are at the exact same page as we were when it started, with one difference. The 7 months have now cost us 3 years of college football playoff expansion. 3 years down the pipe because of this. So it is what it is. So a lot of people, they just left. Bob Bowlesby just left. Jack Swarbrick just left. Yeah, they did. Because these guys' time ain't free. It's expensive. Bob Bowlesby's got a conference that is about to get sacked in the face in 3 years when his 2 most high-paying franchises leave. Jack Swarbrick is trying to run a school at Notre Dame. Not easy. They're having 9 meetings over 3 days over the last 7 months where they show up, sit at a table, everybody goes, "We want playoffs." Great. Here's how we're going to do it. No. When you have to have a unanimous decision. I feel bad for Heather because I found Heather went and wrote legitimately. You don't see this on ESPN very often. Lonzo, look how long this piece is that Heather Dinich wrote on ESPN.
That's lengthy.
It's very lengthy.
Wow, and you're still going.
Still going. It's a long piece. I read 2 paragraphs of it. I like Heather. Heather does phenomenal work for ESPN. I like Heather. I like most of what she writes. I went to read that piece yesterday afternoon when I was trying to figure out how I was going to angle the segment. I got 2 paragraphs in, Lonzo, and I physically said out loud, there's no point in reading this. There's no point. Heather's like, what's next? What's the problem? What's the holdup? What's the compromise? And it's all well and good. But it's pointless to read. I'm defending Bob Bowlesby because I feel Bob Bowlesby. I get it. I know where you're coming from. That level of frustration where you just pick up the briefcase and you leave. Bob, I get it. And everybody else that was banging on about Bob and Jack just left the meeting when we're supposed to be getting stuff done. Guys, you ever had that feeling where you're halfway through a corporate meeting and you're like, this is stupid. This is pointless. The only difference is these guys can leave and literally cost nothing. In fact, it made them money to go back to their other job and get work done. It is what it is. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo, and this is ESPN Upstate.
Aren't you always saying it's time to grow up?
Good point. What's that website again?
MyAffordableBraces.com. And it's cheaper than our beach trip.
So much of life these days is rushing around from one place to another. I think you should take fourth bin. Are you serious?
So I'm going to share this on the stream. But Cody Alcorn just tweeted out a picture of how they're trimming trees in Spartanburg. Let me share this to the stream because it's pretty incredible. That is just a gigantic chainsaw hanging from a helicopter that they are using to trim trees in Spartanburg around power lines. They just hung a chainsaw from a helicopter. That's amazing.
How's that work though? I mean, is it just automatically running and you just
I'm assuming that there's got to be a guy in the chopper that has like a go button, right? Like a go stop button, kill button.
also how far up do you have to be with the helicopter so that the blades don't affect and cause the branches to sway?
I don't know.
That looks pretty lengthy.
I mean, that's 2, 3, 4.
That's gotta be 100 feet.
6, 7, 8, 9 helicopters, and helicopters have got to be 9 feet tall at the minimum, maybe 10. So that's got to be 100 feet at minimum. But still, you got to think. Helicopter goes forward. When the helicopter stops, you know it's going to swing because that thing's heavy. It's going to swing for a while. So you got to just hover and wait for it to stop swinging. Then you got to drop it down to where it needs to be. Then you got to basically use the helicopter to move the saw, right?
And what happens if a flock of birds just happen to run into the chainsaw?
People below them are getting a bath.
Yes, they are.
I believe that would be an accidental satanic ritual, is what that would be. So if you are not on the Facebook stream right now, you should be, because what we're looking at is absolutely incredible. Cody Alcorn, who is at Fox Carolina, has just tweeted out a picture of a thing that's happening over Spartanburg right now. And if any of you over in the Berg right now listening on 97.1 can see this, please get a picture and either tweet it to me at The Rob Brown Show or email it to me at robbrown@espnupstate.com. There is a helicopter with what Lonzo and I calculate to, it's got to be 100 to 120 feet of chain underneath it.
By the way, in order for that to show up on the picture, if you comparatively look at the size of the helicopter, the chain itself has to be pretty big. And
The chain
thick.
looks like it's about as wide as the propeller blades. All right. It's about 100 to 120 feet of chain hanging off the back of a helicopter. And at the bottom of that helicopter is what I assume has got to be about a 30-foot long chainsaw. It's not like a pole saw, right? Like, you know what a pole saw, you got a big long 10-foot pole, but at the end there's like a blade that's like maybe a foot long for a handheld pole saw, and you use the pole to
I
put the
have one
saw.
of those. I have one of those.
So it's a big 10-foot pole, and then there's like a 1-foot chainsaw blade at the end, and you use that to get up to the top of trees and cut down branches. The blade on this thing is gotta be, I mean, it's taller than the helicopter, right? So the blade on this thing's gotta be 15, 20 feet, dangling off the bottom of a 100+ foot chain, dangling off the bottom of a helicopter, which they are flying over trees to trim them down. The only problem I have is that I don't have a helicopter and a 20-foot long chainsaw.
This is something that looks like it'd be used in post-apocalyptic warfare.
Yeah. This is incredible. If the zombies attack, you just drag
There
this
you
thing
go.
right through the middle of it.
Yeah,
You're hacking the horde right in half every go.
absolutely.
It's incredible. This thing's unbelievable. If you go to facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, I got the picture of it up on the stream right now. This thing's unbelievable. I'm genuinely looking at what has to be a 15 to 20 foot long chainsaw hanging off 100 foot of chain attached to a helicopter that they are flying around cutting up trees with. That's unbelievable. Somebody just tweeted it out with the caption, "This is the most Spartanburg thing I've ever seen before." I mean, you can knock the Berg all you want, but I got to tell you, if you're asking me what's the efficient way to knock down big trees around power lines, 20-foot chainsaw dangling from a helicopter is going to be way towards the top of the list.
See, I'm too much of a what could go wrong guy. And I'd just be too worried that you get too close to those power lines, and next thing you know, everything's electrocuted going up to the. I guess it's not looking at the negative; it's looking at. And I'm sure they weigh these things before they, and come up with as much precautions as you can. But that's just crazy. And why have we never heard of something like this before? Is this the first time this is being done?
I can't imagine it is, right? This is, I'd love to think.
Are they beta testing right now?
Right. That this is the live action test. We are watching the live test. Somebody, imagine that meeting, Zoe. You're sitting in like a county council meeting, and guy goes, all right.
Hi, Billy.
We got a couple of trees that are over power lines, right? And these power lines, you know, we saw the snowstorm last weekend. If these trees, if the branches get too much ice and weight, the snap, they hit the power line, we lose power. And in the middle of an ice storm, which we may have another one coming up this weekend, in the middle of an ice storm, if these branches take out a power line, it might be days before we can get trucks out there to fix those power lines, which means that chunks of the city of Spartanburg are out of power. How do we fix this problem? And guy in the back goes, I got a chainsaw.
Hey, Billy, I got a chainsaw. You got a copter. We're just going to hook a big old wire on there. We'll just go up in there. Just go right up in there and slap that thing right. Yeah.
So guy
Go,
goes,
Billy.
well, I don't know, man. You know, with a chainsaw, we can only get one branch at a time. We got a lot of these to do, and we only got 2 days to do it before the snow moves in. Well, what if it's a real big chainsaw?
And what if we move real fast?
But wait. I mean, John, even if you had, I don't know, a 20-foot chainsaw, that thing's going to be big and heavy. How are we going to get it to cut down that many tree branches in one city in 2 days? What if we hang it from a helicopter? Now, John, stop being ridiculous. We're not hanging a 20-foot chainsaw from a helicopter. And John in the back is texting away like, tick, 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 tick. Fire up the blades, son. We're going chainsaw.
Yeah, this was a dare. Absolutely was a dare. And then some good old boy in the back said, I can do it.
I got a bunch of chains right back there in the truck.
And a torch. Let's do it.
Only damn thing I need is a helicopter. We got a helicopter. And so, Lonzo?
Yes, Rob.
I've just been informed that we have YouTube video of the giant dangling chainsaw. Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. And you better go quick because there's no chance I'm not playing this immediately.
There's
the chain.
The chain really close to the wires.
And there's the giant chainsaw. I'll be danged. It is not a joke, folks.
Oh, my. Look at the size of that. That blade's like 10, 12 feet long.
Guys, these are not, and this is not, by the way, this is not a chainsaw now that I'm looking at it. This is a, let's say, 10 to 15 foot long.
It's a combine or something.
Metal pole.
Yeah.
With what I can only describe as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, at least 10, maybe more, circular buzz saws spinning on the side of it. This is a Mortal Kombat fatality waiting to be animated. And they are literally just buzzing along the side of trees, knocking out sticks. Unbelievable.
See, I'm also worried. I guess the multiple blades would prevent this, but if you've ever used a chainsaw, sometimes it gets snagged a little bit. That can pull the entire helicopter down. That thing is nuts.
Are you kidding? Dude, there is no, these are, I don't know, 2-foot wide buzz saws. They are ripping through. There's not a damn thing in the world that's stopping that saw. And tree made of diamonds in this thing would go through. It's unbelievable. I know it's not a visual medium. That's why I'm telling you, go to Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Guys, this is legitimately, it's got to be, Lonzo, that's got to be 15 feet. That's a 15-foot long metal rod with at least a dozen 2 to 3 foot buzzsaw blades running straight down the side, just cutting through these gigantic trees like a knife through butter.
This, without a doubt, is the coolest thing you will see today. This is the coolest thing you might see for a while.
I am fascinated by this.
I hope there's no traffic in the area because there will be accidents. People going, is that what? And then mixing it up.
If anybody happens to know the people in charge of this project, I will pay good money to go up in that helicopter while this is happening around there. I would pay good money to go on a helicopter tour that involves mass tree destruction with what I can only describe as a weapon of war attached to the bottom of it. Unreal. Texas says, you've never seen videos of a power company contract helicopter saw rigs. They're a real thing. They use them to cut right-of-ways. I have now. Texas says, check Flight Radar 24. It's in Boiling Springs now. Enjoy the show, Boiling Springs. I'd be outside walking around right now. Texas says, the guy who invented that is definitely a Clemson grad. Texas says they've shown stuff like this on the Discovery Channel before. Highly skilled people and definitely not rednecks from the South. Lonzo, I don't believe for a second that this is not an invention of the South.
And by the way, see, that's implying that rednecks are not intelligent and not inventive, and I disagree with that. They definitely are. This is, I mean,
Being inventive is how you come up with stuff like a 20-foot-long buzzsaw attached to a helicopter.
you got your ideal man, you point, go, hey boy, what we did there? And then you got some guy, you do that. Do you think things like lawnmower races and things like that came from somewhere else? No, they came from around here, for sure.
The best thing I've seen all day is the best thing I've seen all week. We'll get Kevin in here real quick before we take a break. Kevin, welcome to the show, big dog.
What's happening, fella?
What's up, fella?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. I was front row and center yesterday for this helicopter.
You saw it? For real, Kevin, for real.
I was rock throwing distance away from this bad boy. Like I was at the store getting something to drink. So I come out the store and I see the helicopter and it's flying right over the railroad track. I'm like, what is the helicopter doing? Next thing I know, all I see is these blades come out the woods, knocking tree limbs left and right, swinging through, like, just get out my way, move out the way, excuse me, pardon me, I'm doing something.
So wait, Kevin, did you, how tall was this saw? Like, how big was this saw?
Listen to me, man, this saw has got to be every bit of, I'm going to say 10 feet or longer. And it's coming down off these white chains or white pole or whatever's going on. And the craziest thing about it all, the guy in the helicopter is hanging out like he's just that cool driving a car, hanging out the window, watching this situation. So my thought process is like, let's say you out of a job and you're looking for something new to do in your life. How do you look up helicopter driving, cutting trees? Like, so as I'm standing outside, there's this guy come up to me. He's like, hey, man, y'all ain't never seen this before? I'm like, no, you are in Spartanburg, South Carolina. This is something. I said, I'm going to tell you something. For it to be done got to you guys that fast, this thing went viral that fast. And it was just in Fair Forest, South Carolina yesterday. Yesterday, man. Like,
dude,
people got out their cars and put this on YouTube and Instagram and all this yesterday.
Oh, 100%. I'm sitting here watching this thing on YouTube right now, Kevin, and I'm like, this can't be real, but I'm looking at it with my own eyes and still not believing that somebody came up with the idea of let's throw, I don't know, about 9,000 horsepower worth of buzzsaw onto the bottom of the helicopter and see what happens. But sure, shooting, there it is right there. I love it.
And now that you say a Clemson grad came up with this, How about the Clemson truck is pulling in for the guys that work on the stuff now? It has a Clemson tag on front of the truck.
Unreal.
Oh, yeah. I
Unreal.
believe it.
All right, real quick.
believe
It said you had an NFL take for us. Hit me with it, Kevin, before we run the break.
Hey, man, Green Bay all the way, man, but I tell you what, you got a problem with Deebo Samuel, and that's going to be a whole problem. If we can stop him, I feel like we can take control of their DBs when we get on offense and let Aaron and the line do their thing. We just got to stop that off. They're aggressive. Don't get me wrong. They are aggressive. But I think we're going to take them out.
You know, I said the other day, and Kevin, my man, appreciate the phone call. Good to talk to you, big dog. I said the other day, stopping Deebo Samuel is obviously what it takes to beat this 49ers team. And I agree with that. Stopping a train is easy. Just stand in front of it and push real hard, right? Like, it's easy in theory. It's real easy in theory to stop a train. The problem isn't the theory. The problem is the execution. It's one thing to say, all we got to do is stop Deebo. It's another thing to stop Deebo. We'll find out. Lonzo and I'll spend a little bit more time this week breaking down those games right here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. That's it. That's incredible.
So, according to Kevin, that's not happening live right now. It happened yesterday. But
I'm sure they're doing it more than one day.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Like especially if they're predicting more snow and ice coming in on Friday and Saturday.
See, I'm hearing mostly rain this weekend. Possibility of an inch.
Of rain?
But rain Thursday, possibly snow Friday. We'll see. To me, I keep thinking today's Monday. So
it is most certainly not, Lonzo.
It's Wednesday.
Would have drawn a penalty. Eagles GM Howie Roseman says he's going into this offseason with the mindset Jalen Hurts will be their starting quarterback in 2022, adding they'll do whatever they can to continue to help him develop. Roseman did not discount the possibility the Eagles may look to acquire an established quarterback in a trade.
That's rough, Brian. I bet you're tired.
Julia's own have been through a lot this past year. Bringing Lifeline to the world, and now some big wireless company is telling you got to buy a new phone from them and sign their contract. They don't control you. With TracFone Wireless, you can keep the phone, number, and network you already have. Already got a 5G phone? Keep that too, because TracFone runs on America's best networks now with 5G nationwide. Plus, we've got unlimited talk and text smartphone plans starting at just $20. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. 5G nationwide access requires a 5G cable device. Availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language at ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Creamy nut butter makes it delightfully sweet. Roasted nuts make it perfectly salty. Get two great tastes in one delicious bar. Enjoy a Nature Valley sweet and sour.
Harley in the next break.
Sweet.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
The 2005 Texas Longhorns began the season ranked number 2.
Oh, I have so much work to do.
The Longhorns went on to face USC in the BCS National Championship game against top-ranked USC, winning 41-38, and what many consider one of the greatest college football games ever played.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Teams that win college bowls have great recruits, and great recruiting starts with great conversations. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Texter says that the inventor of the helicopter death blade is a guy by the name of Randall Rogers out of Lonzo, Pea Ridge, Arkansas.
There you go.
Which I have to Google immediately.
Just to make sure that it's true, or you just want to see what Pea Ridge looks like?
Yes. See all of the above. Let's see. According to the Chicago Tribune, helicopter death blades have been used since 1984. The saw developed and operated by Aerial Solutions, Inc. The creators from Pea Ridge, Arkansas. But this, Lonzo, the saw was developed and is operated by Aerial Solutions, Inc. of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Of course it was. Of course it was. How you think they cut the tails off all them gators so quick? They just drag one of these through the bayou. Gator tail be popping up everywhere, man.
See, now I can't unsee that in my head.
The president of the company says that they have focused much of their marketing effort on the southern Midwest, and Appalachian Mountains. The company has an advantage over conventional tree trimming crews who must haul heavy equipment over rough terrain. He said a manual crew of 5 men can take a week to do what we do in 3 hours. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The company, which has 3 helicopters with saws, has grown quickly in 5 years, climbed from $1.8 million in '89. From $118,000 in '85 to a company value of over $2 million in the early '90s. That's incredible. That's incredible. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line. I want to ask you real quick about sports memorabilia. Lonzo, tell me if you're in for this. There is a company, it's Lay's Potato Chips. I don't know why I'm going to pretend like you don't know a company.
So Frito-Lay.
Lay's Potato Chips. Lay's Potato Chips is releasing a collector's edition line of potato chips that come in a sealed bag. Looks like that, so with your team logo on the front, and the words "Grown to Glory."
Liking that one to the right.
Like in that one to the right, the Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys, and Kansas City Chiefs are represented as their logo bags here. Apparently, what Lay's has done, though, is they have taken soil from in and around the stadiums of the 32, well, actually 30, because 2 teams said no, but taken soil grown around the stadiums of 30 of the 32 NFL teams. As of right now, the Patriots and the Buccaneers, I believe, are the 2 that said no. They have taken soil from those stadiums.
Because obviously there's something in that soil that keeps Tom Brady young.
Clearly.
And they can't release
It's like,
that.
you know, like a vampire has to always sleep on top of the soil of his homeland, right? It's something like that for Brady. Anyway, they've taken soil from either, if they have a dirt field, the dirt on the field. If not, from the dirt in and around the stadium. taken that back to the Lay's potato fields, I guess, and have sprinkled that dirt individually into 30 different potato fields, grown the potatoes using dirt from the NFL stadiums, and then made the potato chips out of that potato. So when you crunch into a bag of Lay's Grown in Glory Green Bay Packers chips, you are actually eating potato chips grown with soil from Lambeau Field. Lonzo, how much you forking over for a bag of Kansas City Chiefs Grown in Glory chips?
0.
You're not buying them?
No, I'm not doing that.
What if they gave them to you? Would you eat them?
So are they collector's items? Or
100 bags of each team's chips.
yeah, I would. Well, if there's only 200 in the entire world, why would you open them
Sorry, I
up?
lied to you. There are 3 teams. The Broncos, the Bengals, and the Browns are the 3 teams that don't have their own bags. I misread that. Broncos, Bengals, Browns, the B teams say no bags of their own. But you can get all the other teams not being sold in stores as of right now. You can go to the @Lays on Twitter and watch for the Golden Ground sweepstakes tweets until the 25th of this month. Fans will have to win a sweepstakes to get one of these 200
So you can't
bags.
buy them.
No,
you
can't
have
buy
to
these.
win them.
You have to win them from Lay's potato chips.
Any purchase necessary?
I don't know. I would assume not, right?
Right. So on Twitter, I'll shoot for it. I mean, why not?
Why not? Texas says the helicopter saw was a mini boss James Bond had to get away from. I think it was Pierce Brosnan, James Bond. I think he's right. I think this helicopter may have been in a James Bond film. I'll have to look. Take a break. Back after this to wrap up hour 2 on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate. Harley Davidson of Greenville, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't just want you to get on board with Harley Davidson. They don't want you to just buy a motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to join the Harley Davidson lifestyle. Here's what I mean. When you think about the bike that you want, and it does not matter if you have never ridden a motorcycle before, because they've got the Riders Academy. They can get you all set up to learn how to ride safely. You can be a long-time veteran rider. When you close your eyes and see the bike of your dreams, Harley Davidson of Greenville can make that dream come true for you. Just like that. You go in, you tell them exactly what you're looking for. Maybe it's a little cafe cruiser to get around town, save some gas. Maybe it's a big hog to take those rides up and down the mountaintops. Or maybe you're looking for a cruiser to spend a couple of days at a time out on the road. Either way, you need to go to Harley Davidson of Greenville because they're going to find the bike, the color, all the gadgets and gizmos, and they do all the work right there in the shop with trained technicians who only work on Harley Davidsons to make sure you get the best experience possible. Go to their website at upstateharley.com, upstateharley.com to see the entire inventory and all the bells and whistles they can put on your bike, or visit their incredible showroom at 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville. 30 Chrome Drive. It's our friends at Harley Davidson of Greenville.
And they were right.
I just found it, yeah.
You know, the world is not enough.
I don't know if we can show the scene on the stream.
Yeah,
but
probably
you can
not.
go to YouTube and look it up. But he's correct. And James Bond shoots a missile out of the side of his BMW.
Because that's how you deal with that sort of thing.
I mean, in fairness, if I had a BMW with missile launchers on it, that is exactly how I would deal with it. But I don't have a Q.
Yeah, road rage would be
A
non-existent.
thing of the past.
Yes.
Road rage. Listen, I think if we knew that every car came equipped with rocket launchers, right? Road rage would go to 0, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't go to 0 because there are some people that just don't
Or
care.
we just immediately turn into Mad Max.
Yes, that's what happens. Because unless the missiles are guided, you'd have to be directly behind someone, or you'd have to. It would be difficult.
Did you find the scene, the actual scene to watch?
Yeah, I already watched it.
Bye-bye, BMW. See, their saw's not on a big chain. It's like directly connected to the
It's
body.
not. I don't think it's as long either.
No, it's absolutely not. But it's got double the amount of saws though, because it's 2-sided.
Yeah.
Just stand over here.
Right.
Just like James, there's just go right, just lean right there. Just go right there.
Plus, I know
It seems
James
like it
Bond.
wouldn't be a
He's not outrunning that.
No.
You're not outrunning a helicopter.
It seems like giant helicopter buzzsaw would not be the most efficient weapon with which to attack an individual, right?
We Brian, we get flagged a lot, and it's usually by Disney.
We used to get flagged a lot.
Yeah, we're being extra careful because we don't want the page to be shut down because it's not our page. I don't know if there will be
Although
corporate
this does come
repercussions.
from the official James Bond 007 channel with 700, almost 700,000 followers to it.
I'm always going to be the guy that says, nah, it's probably not a good idea. But you know what? You've got the control. If you want to do it, go for it. But if it gets banned,
It's on me.
then all the stuff that we did talking about the helicopter with
Yeah.
the saw is gone.
Oh, this is the one that had Denise Richards in it.
You seem really excited
I
about
love Denise Richards.
Denise Richards. And she married Charlie Sheen, which
She
is
did
just
marry Charlie Sheen.
so weird. Dragon blood, I guess.
Winning.
Although I did not like her in Starship Troopers.
Dude, that movie is great.
It is, but I didn't like her character. Is what I meant.
Dance on.
FreedomPlasma.com or call 864-377-8115. Start earning cash and saving lives.
Dispensing real, unfiltered sports talk every weekday noon to 6.
Putting a bow on hour number 2, headed into the money hour next here on the Rob Brown Show. I've got a couple more things I want to talk about. One, things are bad in Carolina. Are you taking Deshaun Watson? Because Nick Caserio has now said that he is not going to be a Houston Texan next year. Said he is likely done there. Also, Dak Prescott in a bit of hot water. Because after that game ended against the 49ers and he was told that the fans were throwing trash at officials, he said, well, credit to them. And guess what? NFL officials aren't super thrilled about that. I want to talk a little bit about that coming up here in just a minute. And a boxing match that might happen and a boxing match that won't, and I'm good with both. We'll break all of that down and more coming up in the final hour of the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
Yeah, that's in Twitter trending topics, and that happened last night at the very end. Whatever, man. Eventually, your company of choice is going to make some decisions that you will just let go because it's your company of choice, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they won't do what the other company has done."
You just changed the name of one of the most iconic young wrestlers in the past few years. arguably.
Is he young though? He's not young, but I get what you're saying.
Early 30s at oldest. I'm still calling him Walter. I don't care what Vince says. I'm still calling him Walter. He's 2 years younger than me. He's 34.
All right, so that's not that old as far as wrestling goes.
So why change it? He's been on NXT as Walter for 2 years now. Why change it?
I don't know. You think I'm like Mr. Defender? I don't understand why. Perhaps in future episodes he will explain why he decided to go with a different name. It was a weird way to end the show because he grabbed the mic and he says,
Yeah, I saw the very brief clip of like the winner of this match is Gunther, and then it just turned into a brawl.
well, he said he stopped the announcer from calling
Yeah.
him Walter and said, yeah, I don't know. Was definitely going to be discussed in length tomorrow, but of course, I mean, if you want to bring it up earlier,
No.
since you're very distraught over it.
Topic. Yeah, I think they've done a really good job with the 30 for 30s over the years, right? We've watched some of the 30 for 30s. I watched the one on Bruce Lee. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I love that one. Love the Ric Flair one at the
The
time.
Ric Flair one was great.
Yeah.
I think they've done a really, really good job with the 30 for 30 titles. I think that there's a lot of really good ones. There have been some that are okay. They've done some weird ones too, and I like them all. They have just dropped a trailer, Lonzo, for the next 30 for 30 installment. The next 30 for 30 installment is going to take us all the way back to the 2001 National Football League playoffs. 20 years it's been, Lonzo, since the Tuck Rule game. You remember the Tuck Rule game, don't you?
The Let's Protect Tom Brady game.
Tom Brady and his Patriots defeated the Oakland Raiders. Excuse me, I almost called them the Las Vegas Raiders at the time. Oakland Raiders, thanks almost entirely to a critical ruling that awarded New England possession after what was maybe, subjectively speaking, a Tom Brady fumble. Obviously, without that win, Tom Brady doesn't win his first championship that year. He probably still would have turned out to be one of the GOATs. However, he would have one less ring. 30 for 30 vet Ken Rogers and Nick Muscolo are going to make an entire 30 for 30 about that game. And what is interesting about it, and probably the only hook that gets me interested in this, is that they are interviewing Charles Woodson, who made the hit on Brady, and Brady in the same room at the same time. The 30 for 30 is going to be a recap of the game. They're going to recap the game, but they're going to spend most of the time on that play, and they're going to have Woodson and Brady watch it together. There's going to be other interviews in there as well, including other guys who played in that game. One of the biggest plays of the respective career of both of those cats. An entire 30 for 30 based on one of the most controversial calls in the history of the National Football League. But they're selling it as, if that call doesn't happen and the Raiders win that game, the legend of Tom Brady may have never been born. Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it would have. He'd have just had one less. That's not a great angle. Also going to be interviews with referee Walt Coleman, who was in charge of that game, Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Hoodie, Teddy Bruschi, Troy Brown, Willie McGinnis, Mark Davis, Tim Brown, Eric Allen, Lincoln Kennedy, and others. You in for this, Lonzo? You watching a whole 30 for 30 about the Tuck Rule game?
No. No, I'm not. If you force me to, I'll find my way out of it, even if I have to bite off my own hand.
You're going full 27 hours to get out of it, or what is it, 127 hours to get out of a Brady, not even a Brady-centric documentary, because that's The Man in the Arena, where they're doing like a full life biopic on Tom Brady, you know, while he's still in the league. That's awesome. But this is about one play. One play. We're doing a whole doc on one play. I don't know. I feel like the whole point of this could be summed up in like 1 5-minute short film, and I'd watch it, right? Like if they played that play, give me like 5 minutes of Brady and Woodson talking about it, and then I'm good. Then I'm out. I don't need more than that. All right, a couple other things I wanted to get into on the show today. Hey, speaking of sports memorabilia, we told you about the Lay's potato chips a second ago. How about this lawsuit going down? New York City, a Manhattan man, according to the New York Post, is suing someone over a pair of 1953 Topps baseball cards. Christopher Trencher said that 2 cards, a 1953 Topps Ralph Kiner and a 1953 Topps Satchel Paige, are worth more than $25,000 if they have not been damaged. And he is suing the person who has the cards but has refused to hand them over. He says they were my cards. This person was looking after them and refuses to give them back. The current holder of the cards says that they were given to her as a gift many years ago because she's a big Satchel Paige fan. The young woman in charge of the cards currently is in her mid-80s at this point and was around when Satchel Paige became the first black player to pitch in a World Series. Says, quote, I was a big fan of Satchel Paige. They're in my 80s and still enjoying them. Says that she takes them out every couple of weeks. She says they're in protective acrylic holders in a locked safe, takes them out to look at them every couple of weeks. Says, quote, I was very pleased to be included in his hobby, and Satchel Paige was an iconic figure for me. Why was she included in his hobby? The person suing her, Lonzo? Because it's her son. It's her son. The Manhattan man says that his own 82-year-old mother is keeping his 1953 Topps Ralph Kiner and Satchel Paige cards valued at over $25,000 a pop. Says that the mom says, or he says, that the mom bought him the cards as a gift in the mid-1980s, but has refused to hand them over despite his repeated requests. The 55-year-old man, who, by the way, for LOL's sake, is a nationally recognized backgammon player, because that's the thing you can be.
Wait. Can you make money playing backgammon?
You sure can. You make money playing anything nowadays. Anything. The mom, he says the cards are, quote, rare and irreplaceable, end quote. The mom is not a fan. She said when she found out, because she apparently didn't know she had been sued. The reporter from the New York Times hit her with that, and she said, are you serious? He filed a case against me? Question mark. She says that knowing that the mom was a big fan of Satchel Paige, the kid gave her the baseball cards back in the day as a gift. Mom, I know you like Satchel Paige and Kiner. Here's a couple of cards I found. Hang on to them. It's a gift. He says, I never gave them as a gift. They were mine. I want them back because they're worth like 50 grand altogether. Of nearly 3,300 Topps Satchel Paige cards from 1953 graded for auction, there are only 8 of them that have unique quality at this point. The mom says the legal action is very sad. Quote, I want to enjoy them with whatever years I have left. I'm 82 years old. They are definitely mine. He gave them to me. The woman says she hasn't spoken to her son or his family in a couple of years after a falling out over a different subject. She says they banished me from the family a while back. They won't let me see my grandkids, won't let me see anybody there. I guess he's decided this is the way to get the money for himself, end quote. Ugh. Ugh, I feel dirty reading about this, to be honest with you now.
It's. I mean, I guess there are some reasons to sue a parent, but this doesn't seem to be one of them. Especially if you no longer have anything to do with. It's baseball cards. Yeah, I know they're worth a lot of money, but still, I just can't imagine doing that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's ugly.
Should I sue my mom because she took my Star Wars figures, that the 10-inch, and put them in the shed where rats bit off the hands of Luke Skywalker when that thing would be worth a ton of money right now?
I mean,
Should
are they worth 50 grand?
They might be worth a lot right now. Yeah. Should I sue her for that?
Ugh. Texas says, when is Backgammon coming to ESPN3? I will be shocked if there are 5 people listening who know how to play backgammon. You know how to play backgammon, Lonzo?
I did as a youth, but it's been a long, long time. I could pick it back up though.
That's the game with the board that has all the triangles on it, right?
Yeah, and you move the pieces that look like coins.
Yeah,
almost.
they're like little, almost
the
like
black and white.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I think I played backgammon the West Side Boys Club in Columbus. So, yeah.
Lonzo grew up having teachers throw a desk at him by day and playing backgammon by night, ladies and gentlemen. All right. What else to get into? Oh, yeah.
By the way, I looked up the professional backgammon and I can't see that there is one. All I see is it's hard to make a living as a backgammon player.
Yeah, listen.
Now, chess, that's totally different. I get that. You could probably make a living as a chess player.
Yeah. I like every year when ESPN switches to ESPN 8 The Ocho and they do all the random sports. Like, I'm a big fan, right? Last year, I guess, God, my goodness, almost 2 years ago now, when sports shut down for the ever, right? When, ESPN during the point where there were no live sports did like 2 or 3 days where they turned into the Ocho. And I was enamored with, for instance, Lonzo, the European Tram Driving Championships.
It's really hard to stop a tram on a dime.
And they literally had to do that.
Yeah.
Like, one of the games was to literally stop the tram on a dime.
That was very interesting.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you know this about me. Huge fan of marble racing. You ever watch marble racing on YouTube?
Yes, I remember you making a very big deal when we had no sports that marble racing was.
Marble racing's a hit.
That.
It's absolutely legendary. It's a great game. It's a blast. When I used to be a bartender, we used to stream marble racing onto the TV, and we'd have, at one point one night, I had probably 35 people sitting in my bar betting on marble racing, like betting each other drinks. It was great. Big fan of random obscure
Did you
sports.
get in on any of
heck
that
yeah.
action? Okay,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
just curious.
Heck yeah.
Were you any good at it?
Team Yellow Ducks were undefeated in my day. It's not true. We lost a lot, but it was fun while we did it, right? Big fan of the obscure sports. But like, part of the interest is that they're so different. I don't think ESPN 8 The Ocho is throwing backgammon up for a day and holding a lot of viewers. You know what I mean? Like, lawnmower racing, you got me for 15 minutes. Axe throwing, you got me for 20.
If you combine slapping with backgammon, I think maybe,
Chess boxing,
yeah.
which is a thing. Chess boxing, you box for a minute, then you go off to the side of the ring and you play chess, and you alternate between chess and boxing. I will watch that for hours and be thrilled about it. So if you give me back slap gammon, right, I'm in. Like, you get roll the dice, make a move, slap the opponent in the face.
Or it's teams, and you got one guy standing behind the guy across from you, and if you get the point, your guy smacks him on the back.
Oh, I love this. Winner either wins the backgammon game.
Imagine the tension if you're thinking about making a move and you might lose a piece, knowing that you're going to get Walter slapped or Gunther slapped on the back.
Yeah, I'd watch that for days. But just
we should
backgammon?
We should make that game up.
I would, but then people would want me to play, and no thanks. I've managed to not get hit in the dome for 36 years. I don't plan to start over
Hey,
backgammon.
they're smacking you in the back. I mean, we could just do it, do a little interstation tournament and make sure we're going.
Draw CrossFit Jesus as my slapper on the other side.
No, we'll go up against Rock 101. We're fine. Small hands, small slaps. We're good. He's listening. He's gonna kill me.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, question that I asked earlier in the show, I'm going to address it. Southeastern Conference has been dominant in college football. What can the other conferences do to keep up or at least stop the SEC from growing that dominance? I got a couple of ideas. I'll share those with you when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo, and this is ESPN Upstate.
There is no doubt the Carolina Panthers head coach Matt Rule is on the hot seat going into next year, and that is hurting his ability to recruit assistant coaches. They need a new offensive coordinator. They wanted to speak with Pep Hamilton, the Houston Texans passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach, but according to Sports Talk 790 in Houston, Hamilton has made the decision to decline the interview opportunity with the Panthers. So far, former Giants head coach Ben McAdoo, Colts wide receivers coach Mike Rowe, Colts running backs coach Scotty Montgomery, former Washington head coach Jay Gruden, and Vikings offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak have all interviewed for the job. Download the Score app today, lightning fast sports alerts, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard Offsides with Mark Ryan?
Update episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Jason Clemson in South Carolina. Kind of moseying through the college basketball season while you're feeling about the sports mimics mine. We've got so many different angles of this week's divisional round in the NFL, Truth Serum, and so much more, all on a Hump Day episode.
The Upstate is talking about Offsides with Mark Ryan, now 3 to 7 p.m. on ESPN Upstate.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're gonna sing it.
We're singing words now.
We'll even sing the business part.
Save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive.
Now that's a commercial you'll remember, even if you don't remember the bundle and save with Progressive part.
We're singing a commercial.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
This is the end of the jingle. A jingle about insurance.
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or will replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's. It's been U.S. Wendy's taste preference based on the National Taste Test by an independent research company.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm.
So comicbook.com has just asked a question. It's going to tick a lot of people off.
That is.
Is Call of Duty about to be an Xbox exclusive?
Oh,
yes.
I didn't even think about that.
Because when they bought Bethesda,
Well,
they-
because it's already on PlayStation. The next one might be.
well, they could take it off
Take
of
it
it
off,
too.
yeah.
They could.
No, not for the people that have already bought it, right? Or just make it only or make it only this single player. Excuse me.
Yeah, they could do that. They could just make it. Yeah, because if you already have a game by a company on a system,
Yeah.
you can still play it. Because I have Fallout 4 on PlayStation also, and I can play it, and Skyrim VR. So, but those are discs. So.
Cody.
Really?
Really?
I was robbed, man. That was right in the center. No, it was too much power. my bread and butter backdrop just failed me. I think I might actually be denting the wall, though.
Get started today at betql.com/props. That's betql.com/props.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed will vary.
Welcome to Allstate, and you can really control your savings because when you drive less, you save more with pay per mile. So you're really in control of your savings, only paying for the miles you drive. Yeah, life is good when you're in the driver's seat. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands at Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today. Not available in every state. Savings rate is subject to adjustment depending on availability. Allstate Brand Health Insurance Company, not Federal
So it's not just that the SEC has won its 3rd consecutive title. It's the fact that all 3 of those titles were won by different teams within the Southeastern Conference, being LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. It is also the 12th title won by 5 different SEC schools since the 2006 season. Auburn and Florida get added to that list as well. And you can talk about the fact that Nick Saban's dominance has made a huge impact on attracting talent to the Southeastern Conference, and that is not only well and good, but obviously very true as well. There is no doubt that Nick Saban, being as good as Nick Saban has been, that he has drawn a lot of talent to schools that have from players that obviously want to play against Nick Saban and prove that they are amongst the best talent in the country. None of these are arguments. These are all true things, no doubt about it. The problem is that you are also now adding Texas A&M to that list, who just signed not only the #1 recruiting class, or is in the process of signing the #1 recruiting class, but it is also a school that may have the best recruiting class ever, depending on what composite you looked at. Now, you get the occasional Clemson popping up. You get the occasional Ohio State that shows up. But the Southeastern Conference owns football right now. Lonzo, is a Big Ten guy. Do you want to contest that claim?
No, I do not.
I don't think you can. I don't think anybody can. And by the way, keep in mind that the Southeastern Conference, on top of all the money that has been coming in due to success, starting in 2024, they have signed a new television deal with ESPN that is valued at about $3 billion that gets pumped back into the conference. Texas and Oklahoma are not leaving the Big 12 to move to the SEC because they like the competition. They are not moving over just so that they can say we're in the best conference in America. They are bailing on the Big 12 because there's a lot of money on that. College football is very similar to wealth. The more you have, the more you get. What's the easiest way to become rich? to be rich.
I was going to say inherit it. Yeah.
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 The easiest way to make money is to have money. Once you have money, making money becomes easy. The hard part is getting to where you have it. College football is the same way. The best way to get more success in college football is to have success. Because if you have success, it just keeps coming to you. And as of right now, I don't know how it is that any other conference can look at the SEC and think, hey, we're close, right? We're close. Other conferences might have a team pop up here and there. Like I said, Clemson, Ohio State, every now and then they might pop up into the playoff. Maybe even the occasional Cincinnati. But do you think that right now the Big Ten, with Michigan going this year, Ohio State going last year, you think the Big Ten is any threat to the Southeastern Conference right now? Not really. They may snipe a title from them. But it's the SEC sport, and to the consistent victors go the spoils, right? So how do you get to a point where you can stop getting a top 3 quarterback out of Northern California who goes to Auburn? How do you get the number 1 ranked running back in the country hailing from Ohio to stop going to Georgia? How do you do that? When the SEC right now is the place to go if you want to win a championship. You start at Alabama or Georgia. If you can't get in there, you go to a Texas A&M and their recruiting class they've just signed. They just became infinitely more attractive. How do you make that happen? Let's go back to the conversation that we had earlier. The only way you do that right now is to expand the playoffs. Now, I think name, image, and likeness is going to help more than a lot of people want to acknowledge, right? I think it's going to help dramatically. Texas is in the Big 12. They'll be in the SEC soon, but Texas is in the Big 12. Texas just had a business that is offering $50K to any offensive lineman on that roster for the Longhorns. Now, if I'm a 4-star tackle and I've got Alabama telling me, hey, man, you come here, you're going to sit 2 years. Third year, you got a chance. Fourth year, you're going to be a stud. And I got Texas that's going, yeah, we're not in the SEC, but you come here 1 year, wait, then you play 3 years, and you're getting $50K off the boot. Now Texas is more attractive. I think NIL is going to help a lot. North Carolina, Mizzou, Jackson State, and FCS school have all signed top 10 recruits this year. Why? Because all of them have been able to have a business step up and go, we're going to get you here. We're going to get you taken care of. Your family ain't going to be hurting for money if you play here. Now, we can argue that's pay play, and we can argue that we need to legislate that, and I'm in agreement with that. But it being on the table right now is the reason that UNC, Mizzou, and Jackson State under Deion Sanders have snagged some of the best 4 or 5 college football players in the country because they know they're getting money for playing football if they go there. But the number one answer, once again, some of you are going to feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm doing it with all of these facts about the SEC laid on the table. If you are a fan of a school that's in a conference that's not the Southeastern Conference, you should be so pro-expansion that it hurts. You should be so pro-expansion that you had the same reaction to Bob Bowlesby getting up and walking out of that meeting last week. You're just furious that nothing's getting done. Because playoff games, especially if the formula is followed where the early playoff games are played on the home fields, in the home stadiums of the top 4 or 6 or 8 schools or whatever it's laid out like, that drives interest. It drives revenue. It drives money. It drives more paths to competing for the national championship. And I know Herb Street was mad a couple of weeks ago saying, well, you know, if we put the emphasis on national championship or bust, it's going to ruin college football. Well, I got news for you. That is what it is. That genie's out that bottle, as the expression goes. I pointed out on Twitter when I was live streaming the Georgia-Alabama national championship game that I want you to go back and I want you to look. This is not a shot. It just is what it is. want you to go back and I want you to watch the introduction to the teams in the Duke's Mayo Bowl in front of, I don't know, 35, 40, 45,000 fans in Charlotte, North Carolina in an open-air NFL stadium. That's supposed to be attractive, right? You get to go to a big city, you get swag, you get to play on an NFL field. That's all well and good. And then I want you to go back and I want you to watch Georgia and Alabama coming out of the locker room for the national championship game. Looked like a freaking Guns N' Roses concert. Lasers, smoke, and lights, and music. The mentality of these players is already national championship or bust. And I don't think you can fix that. The fact that those games are played and presented the way they're played and presented, while the TaxSlayer.com Bowl draws 15,000 people, and the players all get a cool set of headphones out of it, there's a vast gulf between the two. Playoff expansion is the only thing that's going to step between the SEC and complete dominance. The SEC is not in a hurry. They are happy to push the playoff expansion back another couple of years as long as they're the ones that are keeping to pop the champagne bottles after championship games year after year. It is what it is. If you don't fix it now, why is it going to change later? One of the things that a lot of people are throwing out is, well, we need to protect the bowl system. And I hear that all the time. Lonzo, quick question, and I'm using Lonzo for an example. Did you watch the Rose Bowl this year?
Yes.
I didn't. It was on the DVR. I kind of flashed through it.
Remember who was playing in it.
Exactly. Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough. Good point. Good point. If we're playing the Rob Brown Show Home Edition right now, grab your pen and paper. Write me down who played in the Rose Bowl and who won it. How many of you can do it? A couple. But the majority can't. Do you know why? Because that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. As long as the Big Ten is trying to protect the prestige of the Rose Bowl, as long as the ACC is trying to protect the prestige of the Orange Bowl, the Southeastern Conference is going to keep protecting the prestige of their teams winning national championships, their teams taking in money and resources hand over foot, and their teams prospering while everybody else gets left behind. There come points, and a lot of people get kind of cringy when they hear this, where you can take all the effort you want. Take all the effort you want to protect the traditions the way it used to be done. And don't get me wrong, there are traditions I love. But if I'm Ohio State, I'm protecting the tradition of dotting the I, not the tradition of the Rose Bowl, and costing myself millions in dollars a year per school in the Big Ten to do it. If I'm the Pac-12, if I'm USC, I am protecting the tradition of the Trojan dude shoving his sword in the field. I don't know what it's called. While the band plays.
I think Trojan dude is actually accurate.
Yeah, I think that's the official name. Trojan dude. Trojan man, TM.
That's a totally different.
It very much
thing.
is. If the Trojan man is stick, never mind. Never mind. Take that joke and run with it, people. That's the tradition. If I'm Florida State in the ACC, I'm protecting the tradition of Osceola planting the spear at midfield before the game, not the tradition of the Orange Bowl. Those are the traditions that matter, right? The traditions of individual schools matter, and you should protect those because that's what make college football great. It's those traditions. The tradition of the bowl season died when you went from having 18 bowl games, of which anybody playing could move up into the AP National Championship spot, and you went to 40 some odd bowl games, of which the winner of one's head coach gets mayo dumped on him. And I'm not nagging. It's fun. It's comical. It's whatever.
And a concussion.
And a concussion. It's fun. It's comical. It's cute. I like it. But is that the tradition you're willing to allow? You're willing to defend to allow the Southeastern Conference to continue their overall dominance of this sport? If you are cool with the Big Ten protecting the integrity of the Rose Bowl while you watch Bama and LSU and Georgia and Auburn and Florida and Texas A&M show up in the national championship every year, if you let it roll out that way, because that's the tradition you elect to protect, okay, cool. That's fine. But parity in college football is not great right now. And the SEC controls the majority of it. As long as we keep leaving these commissioners and these presidents to squabble over a little bit of money, the SEC is going to keep making the majority of it. But if we're going to keep doing what we're doing, that's fine. I don't need the text anymore that say, hey, Rob, what do we do to make it where Georgia and Bama and A&M and Florida and LSU keep dominating college football every year? What do we do to stop that? I'm telling you right now, the only answer is expanding the playoffs so that more money gets spread between more schools, and combined with NIL, where players can now go, I don't have to go to Alabama to allegedly drive a new Dodge Charger. I can get my hookup at Texas. I can get my hookup at SC. I can get my hookup at Oregon and Washington. And there's a seat in the playoffs for me, right? Because right now, if you want a seat in the playoffs, you go to the Southeastern Conference. That's your best bet. They're sending 2 every year, and very often, 2 of them are going to the finals every year. That's where the money's at. It's where the benefits are at. So how do you create a situation where the best players want to spread out more as opposed to just gelling in the SEC? You open more seats up at the table so there's more opportunity. You open up seats at the table so that other schools can get in there, get a slice of that playoff pie, and put that back into their program to make it more attractive to recruits. But as long as the story pops up every 3 months, the commissioners got together and there's been no change, right now we are waiting until, at the very earliest, 2026. 4 more seasons at minimum before we expand the playoffs. Lonzo is an outsider, is a Big Ten guy. If I offered you the bet right now that the SEC wins at least 2 of those 4 championships, would you take it? Would you bet against that?
No, I wouldn't bet against it.
Of course you would. Because the cards are on the table. And they got most of them. Right? They got most of them. So until you fix that, the SEC's winning 2 of the next 4. Maybe 3. And it's going to take a damn special effort out of Ohio State or Michigan or Clemson or somebody else to jump up there with the dynasty Alabama has, the potential dynasty that Georgia is growing, and Jimbo Fisher's just put together one of the best recruiting classes of all time. Don't tell me Texas A&M's not a threat in the next couple of years. I can't stand Texas A&M. They're a cult. But that team's going to be good. And until there are more spots on the table, with the attitude of national championship or nothing, that wealth is going to stay pooled in the Southeastern Conference. And parity will not expand. 844-GSP-ESPN, Ingles Market text line, Preferred Home Services text line is 71307. We are live from the Ingles Market studio on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
So there's a developer who is working on making an FPS game where you shoot Pokemon. Would you play it?
You shoot them? Like hunt?
Yes,
kill
you
Pokemon?
hunt Pokemon.
Can they get away with that?
I don't know. IGN just put the article out and says there's something disturbing about Pikachu taking a shotgun blast and rolling down a hill to lay limp and dead Supposedly there's footage. I just didn't look at it. Supposedly the Pokemon can fight back though.
Oh, well, now I'm more interested.
So it's not like they're defenseless. They actually have the powers that they have. So the question is, if you're playing a game and you come up on a Pikachu and you miss, can Pikachu electrocute you to death?
That game would be fun if that was the case. Also, it sent a small electrical shock through your phone.
Well, the guy who's making it, a guy named Dragon, is doing it on
Dragon?
Yeah. He's doing it on Unreal Engine. So
Oh, so it's like a game.
Yeah, it should look good.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Here at Frank's Red Hot, we put together a completely exhaustive list of essentials that will bring everyone together.
As long as you lose points for hunting the Snorlax, because you know they're laying there asleep.
Today's pros need today's tools, and nobody understands that better than the Home Depot. Our app makes it simpler to get supplies ordered and delivered. Our online project calculators cut guesswork and last-second supply runs. Job site delivery puts what you need where and when you need it, and rental puts the right equipment in your hands, but not your overhead. That's how today's pros get more done. New tech, new tools, old-fashioned hard work. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take
Story just came across during the break. Apparently, there is a young man by the name of Uziel Martinez from Baja California. Found out that his girlfriend of a couple of years' mother was going through kidney failure. And that he, Lonzo, was a match to donate a kidney for her. So he decides to donate this kidney to his longtime girlfriend's mom, his potential future mother-in-law, to save her life, right? So he donates the kidney, and about 2 weeks later, the girlfriend dumps him and marries another man within weeks. So he donates a kidney to his girlfriend's mama. She has the surgery. The mom's fine. And after the surgery, a couple of weeks later, the girlfriend says, I'm out. And also I'm marrying this other dude.
Which would imply side piece was going on the entire time.
100%.
Yeah, and
She looked at this dude. She had another fella lined up. She found out this dude could save mom's life by donating a kidney and was like, what's 2 more weeks, you know? Let him get through the surgery, get him out of the hospital, and then I'm moving on. Now, the question is, Lonzo, if this is the case, did the girlfriend have a change of heart after the kidney? Or was the girlfriend giving this dude girlfriend benefits solely to get the kidney for mom, knowing that she was out when it happened? And either way, why is she the worst person?
He could get her back, though. He could marry her mom.
I gotta think you sleep with the mom now, right? Like, not to go all rated R on this show, but I think if you're the dude, the response here, who, by the way, said, and I quote, "I'm fine emotionally. I think so is she. I have nothing against her. We are on good terms. We are not friends, but neither do we hate each other," end quote.
A week later, I'm your dad. You're disinherited.
I gotta think you're calling yourself stepdad at some point, right? Like, you are calling the mom and you're going, "Hey, I know you know your daughter and I have split up, and that's fine. I'm doing okay. I just wanted to check in on you and see how you're doing after the surgery, see how you're feeling, make sure we're on the good terms, because you do have my kidney inside you now. And I was wondering, no pressure, no worries, do you want to maybe go grab dinner? I'm a little bored. I've not gotten out of the house because of the whole giving you a kidney operation. I've been stuck at the house. I can finally get out. Wondering, do you want to go out and maybe grab some dinner? No pressure, no worries if not. And then when she inevitably says yes, because of the donated kidney, you are whining and dining her like it's your last job on earth, right? Because the only revenge here is to go home the next day and go, "Yeah, I know you used to call me boyfriend, but now you can call me dad." That's the only way to play this.
Hey, who's your daddy?
Yeah.
Right over here.
It's me, legally now. Oh, 100% that's the only option. It's gotta be, right? Extended version of Twitter Trending Topics when we come back to wrap up the Wednesday edition. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo, and this is ESPN Upstate.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive Viagra is available in generic form, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED for a fraction of the cost, and hence makes it extra affordable. The generic form of Viagra has the same active ingredient, but is not
On a heater now.
And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free when you go to Hims.com/joy. That's right, free. Zero copay, no expensive appointment, and no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Please connect to your providers online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. Then a certified pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to, and that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free online visit. forhims.com/joy.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
The 2005 Texas Longhorns began the season ranked number 2 and stayed there all season. Their defense allowed only 16 points per game, while their Vince Young-led offense averaged 50. The Longhorns went on to face USC in the BCS National Championship game against top-ranked USC, winning 49-38 in what many consider one of the greatest college football games ever played.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Teams that win college bowls have great recruits, and great recruiting starts with great conversations. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your work. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports. Post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
Compassion International has a network of over 300 church partners in Haiti, poised to bring critical relief to those suffering because of the recent earthquake. Make your $40 one-time gift now by texting the keyword radio to 97646.
It is time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending and he will tell everybody what he knows about it. The first thing that is trending is the Rings of Power.
Coming to that, but before I do, text from our last segment. Rob, the kidney story will end up on insert name of adult streaming website here. Another no, I can't even read that one, but texter who sent that, you know who you are. Beautiful job on that quote. And I think the only option is to take your kidney back. Might be a little extreme. It might do some time behind bars, but hey, you got her back, didn't you? Don't.
Yeah,
You
that's
guys are awful.
Yeah,
You guys are awful.
I like our version better. There's no death involved.
It's just extreme retribution. I saw the Lord of the Rings thing, the Rings of Power, which I believe is it's a prequel to Lord of the Rings. It's going to be the story behind the rings themselves, if I understood that correctly.
Well, it's an Amazon series, and they've been filming it for a while, but they never put out what the title was. So there's been speculation about what it was actually going to be about. But putting that title out, now we know what it's going to be about.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, and I'm all in. I'm a big original Lord of the Rings trilogy. I honestly didn't hate the Hobbit movies. They weren't as good as the original trilogy, but that was such a high bar. I'm in. By the way, Amazon has been cranking out some stuff, man. They've got a Critical Role animated series coming out that I think you're gonna like, Lonzo. They've got the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power series coming out. There's a couple of really good stuff for us nerds coming out on Amazon soon.
All right, the next thing that's trending is Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians is trending because he has been fined by the National Football League. He pulled one of his own players off of a scrum. There was a player that was trying to break up a little scrum.
Yeah, but he was doing this.
He slapped the player in the helmet and kind of yanked him by the helmet away from the scrum, which I understand, because if that continued, Tampa likely would have been assessed a penalty in the situation. But because he physically manipulated a player, he has been fined by the NFL, which is a tough spot to be in, because on one hand, the coach is trying to break up a scrum and also prevent a 15-yard penalty against his team. And again, the game was pretty much decided, but also you never know. It's the NFL. We've seen some weird comebacks before. On the flip side, they are going to frown upon a player physically manipulating a coach manipulating a player like that. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, $50,000. And the thing is, if you're that player, don't touch me, coach.
Yeah.
It costs you 50 grand.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
All right. The next thing that's trending is R-Truth.
Oh, no, don't know why he's trending. But I also have not watched any wrestling this week, so I'm way behind.
It is R-Truth's birthday.
Oh, very nice.
How old do you think he is?
43.
He is 50 years old.
That dude's 50?
Yes. And they he doesn't
It doesn't age.
It's weird.
Hey,
It's-
Lonzo, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Yeah, yeah.
What's up? What else we got?
I get it. National Popcorn Day.
Big fan of movie theater popcorn. Have you ever, Lonzo, or is this just me being the fat guy in the show? You ever gone to a movie theater just for popcorn? Like, not to see a movie, you just popped in to get a large popcorn to take home?
No, that's kind of weird. It is kind of weird. Although you could do it now a lot easier because you don't need a ticket to get in because you have to buy the tickets from the concession stand.
Yeah.
So you could just walk right in and get popcorn.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I honestly, I used to do it back home in Fort Walton. I used to pop into the AMC theater. It was like around the corner from where I worked. Like you could just walk there in 3 minutes. I used to walk around in the movie theater during the day at lunch and just get a tub of popcorn. And the guy go, yeah, what are you trying to see? No, I'm just here to get popcorn. You just go into yeah. You're not here to see a movie. No, I just want some movie theater butter popcorn, which they'll sell to you because that's how theaters make their money.
And again, now with the way things are set up, you wouldn't you wouldn't be asked.
Yeah.
You just walk in and buy some popcorn.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. We got time for one more. Got another one?
Gunther.
We'll talk about tomorrow because I have complaints. Which shocks Lonzo that I have complaints. All right, that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Do not donate your kidney to your girlfriend's mom until you have her locked down. All right? That's rule number 1. That's like the mattress tag warning. Like don't rip the tab off the mattress. They have to put it there, I guess, as a warning. Don't dive headfirst into the 2-foot pool. Somebody's done it. And now you know. Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We're back tomorrow to try harder on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. And that'll do her. Oh.
All on the same rows.
Have you seen the helicopter buzzsaw?
This is Sports
Flying around Spartanburg and Boiling Springs. There is about a 15.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story. Another step.